it stops, no one knows. We're going headed into the unknown. Na, 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 na.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everybody, and happy Wednesday. I have my lovely guest here, ATS News.
Hello. Thank you for having me, and hello, everybody in chat.
Hi. It's like weird saying hi to you and I talk to you like all day. So
I know, it's like, hi again.
And Allie Erickson will be here. She's running just a few minutes late, so she'll pop on whenever she's available. So hi, Northern Light and Spectre Gadget. Hey, Sharon. Hi, Mez. Hey, Missing Unsolved Crime. MK. K-Braze. Mrs. M. Hi, Shabu. Hey, Journey Takes a Trip. Nadine, my Sharky Soul Sister. What's up, Harlot? Hi, Tiffany, Stephanie, Candy Cane, Melmac. Hi, Crime Curious. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hi, Teresa. Hey, Shaz. Hey, Anon. That's like top secret times 2. Hi, Kaleidohope. What's up, Shelly? Hi, Anna. I don't know. I must have missed something up above on that comment. Hi, Sleuthy Goosey. Hey, Lynn. ATS stands for Amber Truth Seeker. So she's.
I'm Amber.
She's like, I'm Amber. All right. I don't know if I missed anybody up there. Hold on, let me go back down to the bottom. Hey, Ruckus. Hey, Street Sleuth. Hey, Carla. Hey, Julie. Robin. Hi, Ty. She'll be right here. Hey, Charlotte. Hey, Care. I don't know if I missed anybody. Hi, Robin. All right, if I missed you, I'm really, really sorry. Hello, everybody. Hi, Pepper. And Caesar just popped in. I am very excited to have like 2 of my all-time favorite true crime folk, my true crime friends that I bounce all my tinfoil stuff off of, joining me tonight to talk about all the crazy stuff in Delphi. I know that Allie has covered Delphi quite a few times. She's like wrapped up in the Letitia Stout, getting all the documents from the Letitia Stout trial, but she still follows everything Delphi. And then ATS, you have actually been covering Delphi also.
Yeah, it trapped me back in the rabbit hole.
I shouldn't have read that memorandum. I keep saying that.
Yeah, that's what sparked this new jump down it again. But how could you not with everything they came out with?
I know. So we're gonna let's start backwards then. So what do you think of everything that just happened with the defense attorneys leaving?
I'm not surprised that they quit, quote unquote. I'm wondering if behind in chambers, if that was kind of, given to them as the judge being nice, like, we'll give you the opportunity to just step down. Like how that happens sometimes in situations rather than,
like this is going to be bad. So you might as well just walk away right now.
Yes. Yes. Sometimes, in situations, the judge or whoever will just help them out in a bad situation. But at the same time, their reputation, I feel, has already been a little bit tarnished now.
Do you think it'll hurt them in the long run, like with their practice? Because they're actually just regular defense attorneys. I mean, so they're brought in, because there's not really public defenders in the area that can represent a case of this magnitude. So they pull in, like, I don't say like actual attorneys because they're all actual attorneys, but you know what I mean? They from a law firm.
I don't
Do you think
know.
it'll
It's hard
matter?
to say. I mean, it seems like a small area. Maybe it's just they're just going to push forward and push this off. Who knows?
So do you think that they were coerced to leave?
I think that it was more the judge kind of having their back up against the wall and saying like, okay, well, because the leaker, you know, they're kind of responsible for their employees or who's surrounding their team. So it's like someone had to be held accountable.
Okay, so that's Baldwin. So Baldwin is the one who supposedly has the ex, employee Mitch, who comes in and just randomly takes some pictures of some computer screens, which I still think it's just crazy in itself. I also heard today that there was something about that this Mitch guy was actually brought back into the firm to help write the memorandum. I have no proof behind that, and the person who said it didn't provide any documentation to back that up. But I thought it was interesting because of what I was talking about yesterday with the little leaks about the memorandum, that it would kind of tie together. But
what I'm confused on is like, what would possess this person, Mitch, to break confidentiality and just trust and stuff like that to take these pictures? You know, like usually stuff motivates people to act on unfavorable choices like this. So what was the motivation for him to do this? Just to be gossipy or what?
To like be in the know and like have the info before anybody else had it, kind of thing?
Or did somebody pay him? I mean, I don't know. I'm just
So
wondering.
It's interesting because like I always had an issue. So supposedly, the tree photo comes out, and the tree photo is supposed to be part of the leak. But the tree photo doesn't actually have any weird computer, like it's not taken from a cell phone on a cell phone from a computer screen.
Yeah, that's the other thing I don't get.
Photo.
I don't get that either, because so many people have said, yes, this tree photo is from the same batch of images that have been passed around. Okay, so then is it not, secondhand copy of like somebody taking a picture of a screen, or did they send just that one to themselves so that it wasn't? I don't understand it.
I don't either. And then there's a couple other ones that seem to be kind of floating around right now, and I can't say they're legitimate or not. They're not like of the bodies, but they are of the crime scene, that crime scene area. And I don't know where these are all still coming from. And then I'd always heard that there was 4 pictures that were leaked. And then shoot, did I tell you what I was watching when I heard somebody say that it was 7 pictures?
Perhaps.
What did I say?
I don't remember.
I don't either. Somebody said it was 7 pictures, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, because we heard that the pictures of the pictures of the girls were like singular ones. Like there was one of Libby, one of Abby, and then people have like put them together in one image themselves, like with their drawings or their traced images, whatever. So I don't know. That only accounts for 2, and then the tree pictures 3. So what else?
I don't know. That's one of my questions. And then why would this leaker send like different images out to different folk? You know what I mean? Like, isn't that weird?
And is that even true, or have people just? That's the thing, is I'm like wondering if people are just like trying to make it seem like they have superior knowledge. Like, no, we were shown the most graphic. But it's like, if you're anonymously or innocently sent these images, how do you know what other people have been sent? Like, it just seems way too involved for you to know that yours were this too much or more graphic than other ones. I don't know.
Oh, because the podcast said, oh yeah, that this is we saw the most graphic of all of them. Right. And it's like, how do you know what anybody else saw if nobody knows what anybody else got?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like there seems to be like little slip ups here and there, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Thank you, MK. That was very nice of you, and welcome all the new members.
MK is the man. And thank you
That's very
guys
nice.
for becoming the members through the membership and donating the members. If you haven't hit like or subscribed, you should definitely do so.
Thank you. And thank you for joining Mrs. Unsolved Crime. Missing Unsolved Crimes. Chris Todd told Court TV 10 months ago that he had crime scene photos of the girls. Okay, so I'm hearing this name floated around a little bit too. And I find that intriguing because I don't think, and I was kind of talking about this on yesterday's live, I don't think that this is new. This is old. I think these photos have been out there.
Yeah, that's not the first one who said, I've heard 8 months, 10 months. So there is like more than one source or people saying like 8-10 months range that these have been kind of out.
Right. So it's like whenever they very first came out, maybe. This is what I wanted to know. Like, why? And I get that, like, whoever these leakers aren't under a gag order. But if this person they're supporting this law firm as an ex-employee and is like working on the memorandum, you'd think they'd still be under something. But Ruckus said that Mitch actually lawyered up, which he probably should. So should Mark, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, what is going on as far as accountability? We haven't really heard anything except Baldwin lawyered up too, right?
Well, Baldwin lawyered up before he went to that hearing, before he went to that status hearing. He got his attorney Hennessy. And now if Mitch lawyered up and then Robert's gone, and like Sleuthy Goosey was like, I want to know, like, what does Robert even have to do with it? We don't know that Robert's even involved in it besides being told. We've never seen screenshots as the public. So besides being told that Robert's the one who gave them to Mark, we don't really actually know that.
Right, exactly. And this podcast is out there pushing the narrative that because of all this, he took his life or whatever.
And we don't know that either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Especially if he did send. So say Robert's involved and Mitch sent these photos to Robert 8-10 months ago. And then Robert sent them out to the supposedly two people, guy and girl, where the guy would be Mark and who I don't know who the girl would be. And he already sent them out months ago. Then it's not really a new leak. I don't know how it all ties together. And I don't even know if there's any proof that this Robert guy had anything to do with anything. And here, like, everybody on social media, like, we're all talking about this guy. And now mainstream media is like, yeah, the guy committed suicide over being part of the leak. It's like, we don't know that.
Right. And the only people kind of pushing that narrative are people who were given this leaked information and just all over social media.
Tiny humans. Well, I believe there was 3 leaked prior that nobody knew about. Then the 4 was leaked. Okay, Shelly, do you think that the 3 leaked prior were of the girls or just the crime scene stuff in general, like the tree and whatnot? JC Marty Ruckus, the judge called all those officers to the front of the court. That's real tactful conduct. Yeah, I don't know. There's something about that whole thing that still just kind of rubs me wrong. Hi, Sleuths Investigates. Oh, look. Hi, Allie. Look at your wicked witch.
Hey.
You're so Halloweenish.
Hello. I know.
I like it.
Oh, do I have an echo?
Not to me, you don't, but that doesn't mean that you don't.
I did at first, but I don't hear it now. Thank you, by the way. I'm so sorry I'm late.
No,
like
you're
last
fine.
minute, the person who was supposed to help with the kids got really sick to their stomach. So I was trying to, do all that. But I'm here now, and I'm so happy. I was so excited to join you guys.
So I have to ask, and then I'll read some more comments. And Amber had a tiny human alert. So what do you think of everything that's going on with the defense attorneys being booted and the leaking of these crime scene photos? Like, when you hear all this, what are your thoughts?
Oh my God, I worry because I feel like the defense attorneys actually made some legitimate points in that memorandum. And I worry that, he's going to have a whole new defense team. It's going to push things back a lot. I just worry about the case altogether, really. I wonder if the new defense will go along with this theory that they have. Yeah, so that's kind of that. The leaks, I mean, it happens, right? We've seen it with Cannon's case and other cases. I think that happens with popular cases, but yeah, the attorneys is the thing that worries me.
So do you think that there's like a couple different sides on the whole attorney thing? There's some that are adamant that like Baldwin was part of it. Like this was all intentional and it was done to support the Frank's motion memorandum, and that they wanted the public to have access to these pictures so that we, the public, would buy into the Odenism. What are your thoughts on that?
I wonder about that too. Even before they quit, there was a lot of rumors about them being involved. However, I don't think that I know enough to say that I think that they were. But it is very interesting thought. What do you think?
Yeah, I struggle with what they would get out of it. Like, what does Baldwin gain by having them leaked? And I know, like, the general consensus on people who believe that he is involved is that we would, the public would buy into it more and we would believe what was written. But it's like, for me, I feel like there was already such a shift in what people were believing anyway, just based on the memorandum, because the stuff with like the sticks and I'd always heard carved into a tree. I never heard written in blood on the tree, but there was always stuff about some type of ritualistic something or other at the crime scene. So I think for people who are like me, it helped push us going, wait a minute, what's really going on here? Because that is stuff that we've always heard, and they gave us such detailed information about it that we didn't have before. I just don't see, some of us were already starting to lean away from Richard Allen. And I don't know if Richard Allen's innocent, so I don't mean that, but just going like, wait a minute, what's really happening here behind the scenes? Right. I don't know if the defense needed to put out the photos.
Yeah, I agree. Like, it's kind of like, why would the only people Baldwin should really feel to put that type of energy into would be the 12 jurors at trial, Like, that's why I'm saying I don't get, like, what motivated that worker in his office to do what he did.
So it is money?
And money's usually the root of all these nasty things one way or another, but I agree with you, because my perception dramatically changed on what was going on here when we got that memorandum. I think many people's did. I don't really think that they needed to do anything else after that. They kind of filled that jam-packed full of stuff, to make you question.
Well, that's why I wonder, like, I just don't know what their motivation would be to be involved in it. It does seem really, and I'm not convinced that the prosecutors had anything to necessarily do with it, but I think that there's something weird about this guy going in and taking these random pictures off the screen. And Ruckus, you said there was 8. So then how many of these pictures were taken from a phone of a computer screen versus actually somebody just having legit photos that were sent to them? And I know, like, there was the original leak from the searcher, and this is kind of what we went over yesterday. We, like, broke it down. So there's, like, the leak from the searcher who put out the pictures of the clothing found, like these. They put those out, I think it was January almost. Then there's the leak of the quote-unquote index from the defense team who accidentally sent it to a guy they were talking to about Odenism. And now there's the crime scene ones. So I think that's what needs to be specific. So where does the tree fit in? Was the tree part of a different batch of leak? Does the tree belong with the batch that goes with the body leak, of the actual bodies? Like, where does it all fit in?
Right.
I don't know. As far as if they do find out who did it, I wonder if they'll press charges, because remember with the Stout case, we saw that they did press charges. That went through the court system so much quicker than the actual murder trial. But that will be interesting to see too, because I know someone made a comment, will they prosecute? I've seen it in other cases.
I just think it's very strange that in March, this podcast has that long interview and podcast episode with Mitchell, and then months later, all this happens.
So I want to know, are they still investigating it? Like, that's a big thing to me. And I guess because if there is no ramifications of it, then why would they waste their time investigating it? But then it still comes to like who all has them, where are they? Do they even care at this point? Because I've said from the beginning, like, yes, they're crime scene photos. Yes, I get the family wouldn't want them out there, and that there's people who don't want to see things that are like that, and it really upsets them. But they're not evidence. They're not tangible evidence. They're like, them being leaked isn't jeopardizing the case necessarily, because the crime scene pictures, unless there's something there that says like Richard Allen on it, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, they're still going to be the same crime scene pictures one way or the other. They have to, the prosecutors have to use those pictures to tie it to Richard Allen or to whatever perpetrator they choose to. The pictures themselves don't change anything. You see what I mean?
Well, I have a question, because that kind of confused me. Like, okay, so the picture of the supposed bullet, where I'm hearing that it came from the perpetrator. That's like, or Amber was kind of commenting on that last night, I think, that it wasn't state's evidence anyways. It was from another source, and it must have been like, there was, I don't know. I'm confused about it. So
what I ended up discussing with Ruckus. One second.
Yeah, you're fine. No worries. I think that so one of you guys.
So I wanted to talk to somebody who had seen them. And he was, in his opinion, felt that they were pages of the Discovery, like these pictures were from.
That they're just pages from Discovery?
Yeah, and the pictures were from not the crime scene unit. Some of them were from possibly the perpetrator's own device, possibly.
Oh, okay.
Well, that makes sense to me. I was wondering about this because, and somebody had mentioned it in chat earlier too. We were always told that at least Libby had leaves on her. So I put out there, like, we can't assume that these photos are taken while CSI is doing it necessarily. Like, one, it could have actually been photos from the perpetrator's device and before leaves. And then the other thing is, it could be as they're processing the scene, these photos could be, I haven't seen them, so it's harder to say, but it could be from, like, the leaves are there. They take pictures with the leaves. They remove the leaves. And as they do all these things, they have to take pictures as everything goes along. So it could be from that stage. And we're just seeing the middle of what's happening versus the beginning. Does that make sense? So I don't want anybody to go out and be like, there was no leaves. Everybody stop saying there was leaves, because we don't actually know that until we see all of it.
Right. Absolutely. And there's going to be a lot that, just like with every other case, there's a lot that's held until trial. Shoot, there's a lot that's not even released at trial that's held, like we've seen it with every case, like Stalk or Watts, or even though they didn't go to trial, but there was so much in the Discovery that we didn't know. I just think that we have to wait.
See, and that's like Ruckus said in chat just now, Libby's looked like they were taken from like an amateur, and Abby's looked like it was from CSI photo.
I think I'm way behind the chat.
I know that Sleuth Investigate said that she didn't know that she hadn't seen the bullet picture yet. And it
showed that. Let me see. I think I took a screenshot. You have a screenshot.
Okay.
Remember?
Yeah, do you need me to send it to you?
Yeah, can you? Because I remember you showed it. I didn't know if I took a screenshot when he showed it. I am way behind on chat, you guys. I'm so sorry. Wow. Yeah, we have no idea, and we don't. So that was one of the questions that I had asked. I'd asked Rick Snay, because I know he had seen the photos, was, is there any type of processing, anything? Is there like evidence markers? Is there, you know, measurement tape? Is there anything that would suggest that this is actually the CSI that's taking these photos as they're processing the scene?
Then Ruckus is saying that the tree picture was CI taking it. So I don't know. It seems like there's
That's
like a mixture.
surprising to me that they would take that picture at nighttime. Hey, Bullshit. I don't know why they would take that picture at nighttime. Why wouldn't they have taken that picture during the day? Yeah, he has a hearing on Halloween.
And the other thing that was kind of being said in my live stream, that the bullet was buried. I rechecked. I don't see anything that says the bullet was buried. All I see in the documents is that it was found in between the two girls, like 2 feet away from their bodies or something. So I don't know where this information. And then when I asked people to kind of source that, nobody could source that it was that the shell casing or bullet, whatever you want to say, was buried.
Is it in the memorandum that they say it's buried? Or do we think are we hearing buried because it wasn't found till later? Where does buried come from?
I don't know. That's what I was like rechecking last night after my stream, because more than one person said it. So somebody, or this narrative is being spread somehow. But everything I looked at literally just said it was lying in between the two girls' bodies, a couple feet away.
And you rechecked the memorandum too? I'll see if I can do it.
No, I just checked from the other sources, like I think it was the PCA that stated it.
Did I show you? Was I talking about crime scene photos and I didn't even show it earlier? I was, wasn't I? Probably did. Okay, so Ruckus showed this. I don't like. It probably was like totally like. Don't you guys see what I'm talking about here? Right here on the screen. Ruckus showed this the other day on his live, and so this was the bullet, or what he believes to be the bullet, and it does look like that to me. And I actually have a question about this. I was going to ask my husband, but I didn't have a chance to. So one of you guys who actually knows about guns needs to help me with this. How would law enforcement know what type of gun this came from?
Well, one, the size of the bullet, but two, did they say it was ejected but not shot, and that would leave? I feel like I heard something like that. I need to
through, but it was not actually fired. So it's like the whole case. Yeah, it's the whole.
Right.
It's cycled through the cylinder or something.
So yeah, it would have had those same marks as like if it was shot, I'm assuming. But I could ask my dad, because that's what he does for a living. He has a gun shop and stuff. So, well, part of what he does. So I'll ask him and I'll let you know. Maybe someone in chat knows, though.
Yeah, Sniper's listening. Sniper will pop in and tell me about bullets, too. Hold on, Ruckus. See, that doesn't make sense to me. If it was CSI with luminol, then what we would be seeing would be black with a bright blue or green. Like what's reflecting, like whether it was blue star or luminol, we would see a different... the contrast is totally not right for a luminol picture. And then if they sprayed it with luminol and that's how they found it, then they took the picture to show like how it was blood, then I don't know why they wouldn't have been able. I guess maybe because it was at night they didn't see it before that, because they'll take pictures like with both. They'll show like, here it is with luminol. Like we've seen that, like here's all this blood spatter with luminol, and then here's the one without it. You know what I mean? But
yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. Maybe it was like a before and after.
So my question about the bullet is because that type of bullet can be used on multiple guns, but they knew specifically what type of gun they were looking for because they had gone to other people prior asking to see that type of gun, the Sig Sauer. But how would they know that that's the gun they were looking for? Hi, Jen.
I don't know enough about guns to say, but I would just assume like maybe they just know the type of ammunition that you would pair with.
Okay. 'Cause, 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 Hold on, let me see what you guys are saying in chat. Hey, Freckled. You guys, so many of you guys popped in. I was not able to say hello to everybody. Hi to everybody who popped in. They
Okay.
followed the laminated blood from Libby's location to the tree. And that would be by the tree that she would have been killed by with the F tree, and they say she was moved.
I asked my dad. He said that there's a firing pin or a striking pin. It depends on what kind of gun, that even if it's not shot but cycled through, that would still hit the bullet, and that potentially there's different reasons why it may not go off, moisture, or just whatever, but that it would still leave markings on it that would be unique to that gun. You know what I mean? Just like, so I don't know.
But how would they know what type of gun, I guess, is the thing? I mean, like,
he said,
so they went supposedly to like the Weber's house, the property that's like south, that it's the property that the south end of the bridge like walks off onto, that you would have walked off onto. They went there and got her kids, he was a grown man, so I mean, she was an older lady, so they went and got his Sig Sauer gun. Like, how would they know that it was that kind of gun?
Hold on, I'll ask him. Hold on.
Okay, wait, I heard the bullet was buried under the phone that was under her leg, so that's not true. No, the bullet was between the two bodies.
Yeah, and then apparently the chat is saying that the defense memorandum is rewriting it as it was buried, but I haven't checked myself, but
hold on. Allegedly found between the two girls, buried under the leaves and dirt, was a single bullet.
Okay, so he said that they would know the caliber based on that bullet, based on the shell that was still with it, or even just a bullet. But he doesn't know. He doesn't think they would know like what brand, just based on that. That they would just know what type of gun. So like a 40 caliber or a 50 caliber or that kind of thing, but not necessarily a Glock 40.
They would just go and look for any gun that could fire that type of ammunition. And like I said, since I'm not a gun person, I was like, does that even make sense?
And when I say rewrite it, I just mean that any of the other documents that came out prior to the defense's motion that they just came out with, none of it stated it was buried. So when I say rewrite it, I mean after all those other ones were written, verbalizing a different, scene. For some reason, this is different than what has previously been reported.
So here's my other question then about this bullet before we move on, because here's something else I couldn't wrap my head around that, and I can't wrap my head around so we're talking about the F tree. And so they say that the girls were, or at least Libby was killed by the F tree. And then they were moved over to this other tree where, the tree where they were found. The bullet is found. Chat's moving a little fast, Sniper. I missed it. Hold on, I'll go look for it.
I'm looking for it.
Is found by the girls' bodies. So if he uses the gun to control them, get them down the hill, and then and I don't mean to be crass, I'm just trying to be as factual as I can. Takes them, they're killed by the F tree, and then moves them over to the other tree. Where is this bullet? Why is the gun even out anymore? Where's the bullet coming from?
Right. Like, what is the logistics of this whole thing? Because
did you get Sniper's comment? Yeah, there it is.
The only tool marks that would be evident on the unfired cartridge would be very faint from the extractor and the ejector. If it had been fired, the primer would have been struck. An extractor, probably another one that I didn't see. I don't know if that one continued or not, but yeah, so I'm confused on how they would even know what type of gun to go look for, and I'm confused on why this bullet would end up where if the girls have already been killed, he doesn't have his gun out anymore. He doesn't need it. So where does this bullet come from? I'm still confused on that. Let me see what you guys think too.
That is confusing. It is weird that the next hearing is on Halloween. This happened, on Valentine's Day, and those are all kind of like pagan, heathen.
And you know that the
It's
press
just
conference,
interesting the way it lines up.
press conference last year
Yeah,
about
that is interesting.
they did it on Halloween, and I think his first court appearance was also. I mean, his first one might have been in 20. I don't want to say that because I'm not 100%, but I think he may have actually been in
weird.
court, or he was in court the 28th. I'd have to go back and look at that, but still, yes.
I know those things don't mean much. Oh, sorry,
Yes.
Teresa.
No, you're good.
Go
I
ahead.
was just that's a good point. Sleuthy Goosey said, "I love how no one considered that they could possibly be receiving pics from someone involved in the crime."
That's interesting. Kind of like in line with what Amber was saying, but as if like that person was still free and posting them now.
Ah, like passing them around, and then that's how.
If
Yeah,
it
it's
comes
possible.
anonymous,
Interesting.
what if it is from the bad guy? You know what I mean? No
Ooh,
Right,
markers.
definitely a possibility.
Patricia has a good theory for the bullet. She said, what if when he was moving the bodies, the gun fell out? And maybe it would come out of the gun. I don't know, but that could make sense. I mean, that's one of the only things. It is interesting. It doesn't make sense. That's one way to kind of
Would the
Yeah.
bullet
make it work.
fall out of the gun like that, though? I think once
Right.
again, not a gun person can't answer that. So, but it just is weird
Well,
to me that a bullet is going to randomly fall out of the gun. Like you'd have to.
Was
do
it a
something.
revolver?
No, it's like a Sig Sauer. And that's not a revolver, is it? Shit, I don't know. You're asking me questions that I don't have answers to.
I think it is a handgun. I don't
It's a
know.
handgun.
If it's a revolver, I could see it like because if it hits something hard enough, like rock or something, they like break in the middle almost. It bends, and that's where you put in all the. Well, I don't know. I think that semi-automatic.
The chat's going to start laughing at us now.
I know.
No, a bullet wouldn't just fall. Yeah, you're just walking around, your bullet just falls out.
And
But they say it on the audio that you could hear. This is. I don't think this is actually written in one of the documents, but they say that you can hear like a gun cock.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
It's a semi-auto. I'm like, I don't think it is.
Okay. So that would make sense though if that's true about hearing the gun cock. I've heard that too a bunch of how he could, get them to do what he wanted.
Their
Like
chat's
holding a
laughing
gun, but not
about guns. We should probably move on to another topic since we don't know anything about guns. Like, stop talking about it, you crazy women. Tom's like, stop by your head. Damn it, it's too late.
well, the thing too is like we had thought previously, like, oh, maybe the bullet fell out when there was like some sort of struggle. He was covered in mud allegedly, So, but then we hear no defensive wounds or markings.
Cocked. Yeah, cocked, not cooked. Anybody's bullet could have been laying anywhere in the area. If he hunted, it's clearly possible his bullet could be there. Well, the other thing the problem with that is they say that in his interview, he states that he has never been on that property. So then his bullet shouldn't be there. The only
just
way
so
that,
interesting.
sorry, go
sorry,
ahead.
T. It's just
No, you're
crazy. That's the only evidence against him, and they weren't, killed that way. It's wild.
But then somebody brought up my in my comment section when I said that the bullet's like really one of the solid things linking. They said no, he placed himself there at the bridge.
Right. He did say he was at the bridge, but
like physical evidence, yeah, it's just the bullet, right?
Yeah. Right. That's what the way I understood it, especially listening to Teresa, but like I haven't been as deep into it as you guys.
My problem with it is in the documentation from the prosecution, they say two things, and those two things actually mean something very different. One says, he said he was there between 1:30 and 3:30, and the other one says that he was there from 1:30 to 3:30. And so between, yeah, I was there between 1:30 and 3:30. I left at 1:45. Now I'm there between it.
Right.
That's a problem for me, and that's not a defense statement. That's from both of them.
Yeah, that does mean two very different things.
Yeah, it's like not putting a comma in there. You know, commas are important.
Exact times and the timeline are important too, because they're stating that the crime was committed and over with by 3:30ish.
Let's see, and they apparently have hair fiber evidence as well as partial fingerprints. Doolin spoke to Allen, yet in 2022 he's arrested, and this tiny bullet could convict him. Make it make sense, right? What happened to the hair fiber evidence that they had? We know that they say they have DNA. So, which could be from the hair, but it's obviously not matched anybody if they're still asking Patrick Westfall to give his DNA to see if it matches. Ruckus says they have other evidence,
yeah,
and it can't be explained away. That's what the defense wants suppressed. Well, if they have other evidence there that puts him there and it's undeniable, why hasn't the prosecution brought it out? Their biggest thing they did in the June hearings was to talk about the fact that, oh, he confessed. He confessed. He confessed on the phone to his wife and his mom. Instead of saying, no, we have this nail, this coffin, this is it. We're done. Like we're not doing anything else. I don't why we wouldn't know that there was some other big smoking gun and how it wouldn't have come out in anything.
And if they've handed everything over to the defense, unless they haven't, but like, how are they coming up with this Odenism theory if there's something so solid linking Richard Allen?
That's where I'm kind of at, and I agree with the PCA part. So they do the search warrant on the 13th. He's not arrested until the 20. I should have my timeline up. The 26th, 28th, 26th, 28th. Somebody will tell me. So they process the crime scene. They're processing a lot of what's going on, what's happening in the house before they write the arrest affidavit. So you have the search warrant affidavit, and then you have the arrest affidavit, and there's a lot of evidence that would have been processed. Yes, not all of it, which is why I always do say that the PCAs don't have everything, because they still are investigating. They're still testing things. They're still adding to, all the evidence that they have against this guy. But my issue comes to the later hearings when they are, why isn't, it's like Nick McClellan's throwing Hail Marys, but he confessed on the phone instead of, no, we've got Abby and Libby's, DNA on his blue jacket from his house. We're not even here to argue this. This is ridiculous. We don't see that.
Unless they found some of the missing clothing at Richard Allen's house.
All right, you guys are gonna have to take over for a hot second. I have a crying tiny human.
Okay.
So if they found some of the missing clothing from the girls during, some search warrant or something, that'd be pretty solid.
Yeah, I agree. And
did you see where Ruckus said that they removed the entire F tree, from the area?
No. Wow. No, I didn't. I don't know. I just think that I'm jumping to conclusions thinking that that's the only evidence they have. And I hear myself talking about Koberger's case. Wait for the trial. There's going to be so much more. So I got to keep telling myself that.
And we were almost there. We were literally going to start this trial in January, and all this leaked stuff comes out. And it's just really weird timing to me.
I know. It sucks so much. Do you think his new lawyers will take on this theory, because it's pretty out there? However, now that we have the guards who responded when the prosecution responded to the memorandum, admitting that they did wear these patches and they do practice this religion and that kind of stuff, do you think it's too far-fetched for the new attorneys to jump onto this theory?
I think if they don't jump onto the Odenism theory, then it's going to be a huge mistake.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree.
Because it caused a lot of doubt in everybody's minds.
Yes. And when we think about, like, he actually, you have his claims, and then we see him, and he does look horrible. He's also being kept in this state prison versus a county jail. We have the confessions to his wife and stuff. And that never made sense to me. It's like, wow, on a recorded line, unless he really has a mental health issue, why would he just tell his wife that, over and over? Unless it's true and he was being kind of pushed to do those kind of things, which, looking at his condition, it's not like that far-fetched.
I know, I'm on the same page there. My thing is, the defense hasn't tried to do anything like mental illness wise, like say he's incompetent or you know what I mean? Like they haven't tried to
Yeah.
pull anything like he needs to be evaluated or something like that. So I'm like, what's going on?
Right, but he is definitely deteriorating. When they put that photo out of him with like the stain on his shirt and the
Oh yeah. He looks like a totally different person.
yeah, he does.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay. Teresa, do you think the new attorneys will jump onto this theory? I told Amber, I know it's far-fetched, but in the prosecution's response, and I actually listened to you read through that, the guards admitted that they do practice this religion. They did have the patches, so it doesn't seem that far-fetched when you look at everything in totality, especially with his current condition, his confessing to his wife on the recorded line. What do you think?
I go back and forth on this. Do I think they're going to have to look at it? I don't think they have much of a choice to look at it, especially because right when they're coming in, the judge still hasn't ruled on if they're going to if she's actually going to give the defense a Frank's hearing to begin with. So I think they're going to kind of they're going to start almost from now and then have to kind of work, then go back to the beginning and start working. So I think they're going to have to touch on it regardless. Now, do I think they'll use it at trial? I don't know, because I personally feel like the prosecution now has this huge amount of time to change what's in their quote unquote discovery. And I don't mean change it like alter it. I mean, add the things that weren't there or take out the other things and then make these guys have to go. They're starting from scratch. So like all the requests for discovery, all that stuff's going to happen again.
Right.
So they have, and they also, we know that they've been back and interviewing these people. So are they going to add all the new interviews in? Are the prosecutors or the investigators going to basically say, hey, look, we finished the Odenism investigation that Frank's motion was saying we never finished, but now we did finish it and here it's done. So by the time we actually go to trial, the defense attorneys may not need it. I think for me personally, I think that saying that it's the Odenism part is the worst part of that whole Frank's motion, in my opinion. I think that, and one of the things I want to do is I'm going to go through it and I'm going to take out all the pieces that actually matter on the Frank's motion, on what they would have technically been lying about, which is the whole thing is to get the search warrant suppressed. And there's really good points in there that if they can prove our lies, that the judge should really be looking at. My concern now is she just going to wipe it away and be like, sorry, here, we don't need this now because that defense team isn't here to show us what they were talking about?
Right. Oh, and many people are saying they don't even think, Sleuthy, I think Teresa, a few people commented if he even makes it to trial. People are concerned about that, which is, it's crazy. This is, I don't know. It's unbelievable the way things are shaking out.
Yeah, we've been saying like we're concerned if he's even going to make it.
I think that people, and I thought this too right off the bat until I started digging back into looking at like all the older documentation and whatnot. I feel like when we very first were told like, oh my gosh, he's being mistreated, so on and so forth, he needs to be moved, I was like, well, yeah, guilty conscience can do that to a person. Like I remember even saying that out loud.
Yes.
It's what's gonna happen. Look, he's so guilty, he feels bad, and then he confesses, and then, you know, he goes a couple more weeks and then he's able to start eating and sleeping again. That sounds very common to me. Like you're guilty, now you've gotten it off your chest, and here you go. But then I look back at some of the documentation, and it's like the defense team is saying, well, even the whole thing, when he gets moved to Westville, he gets put into solitary and on suicide watch because he's supposedly made statements about hurting himself. Okay, well, if anybody's making statements about hurting themselves, we know there's a mental health issue to begin with. We can't just go, well, he's guilty, so that's making decisions to hurt, or he's making comments that he's going to hurt himself. Somebody who is suicidal has some type of mental health issue to begin with. So that's just like a scratcher. And I'm not a mental health person, but I'm just saying. Now you take that he's deteriorating. If you look at all the old motions by the defense, they are actually stating in January that he's not looking good. You know, like that there's a definite decline. The big decline was from their visit at the end of March. I don't remember the exact date. I think March 24th to the visit on April 4th. And he makes the calls to his wife on April 3rd. So March 24th to April 4th, they're like, the guy's like not even, he can't even help with his defense. He's a disaster at this point. Like he's declined so much from March 24th until now. So he was immediately under some type of mental health situation right when he got there. And so he was declining from November, and then by the beginning of April, which is interesting. If April 4th, the guy isn't coherent and can't, you know, help with his defense, which some people go, well, they just said that because he confessed the day before, which is why I want to hear the actual confessions, because is he just like, oh no, I must have done it. Like, I don't know. I can't understand it. I had to have done it, Kathy. You know, like, what does he sound like? Does he sound like a blubbering idiot? Or does he sound like, no, like, Kathy, move on with your life. Like, I did this, like, get over it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, tone is everything.
So I feel like there's a bigger picture to this decline that was actually happening, and I don't know why they won't move him. It just makes no sense to me that that's even like up for debate. When the defense team went and had a whole other county say, no, we'll take care of him. Well, like, well,
Yeah.
We've got the room, we've got the setup, we have no problem with taking care of him. It's the Cass County Jail. Because Carroll County says, you know, he's not safe here. But we don't know why he's not safe there. Nobody said why he's not safe. Not that I know of, not that I've read.
It's like clearly he's not safe where he's at currently. So could we just take our chances maybe at Carroll County at this point?
Right. I mean, but Cass County said they'd take him. So why not just move him? Who cares? Let's just move him there then. Everybody seems okay with that.
The other thing too that you kind of just reminded me when we're talking about the mental health stuff is allegedly, remember they were saying when he was arrested, he checked into some mental health ward or whatever after the murders took place.
Yeah, that he was like getting a mental health evaluation, and they were going to basically force him to take medication. If you lock a person in a room with no window 23 hours a day and you have people spit and put crap in your food and threaten your family, you would break too and be suicidal. Give me a break. Well, my thought is he was supposedly suicidal almost right when he got there. Do you guys both leave me for a second?
No, I'm just thinking
Okay.
about what has the defense done to kind of say like he's not well, he needs to, because you would think that in other situations they would move him maybe to like a psych ward prison or something, right?
Well, yeah, and then if he can't actually help with his defense, then he would be deemed incompetent and like Lori Vallow, and then they would have to go and have him evaluated and taken care of. But I just don't even understand why anybody would be fighting it. Like, why does anybody in Carroll County care if he's in that prison or if he's moved to Cass County Jail? Why would they fight against it? That's the issue for me. Why would you fight against it? The attorneys say they want to move. He wants to move. Why as the prosecutor or the investigators do we care if he's moved? What does that do to us?
Yeah, right. And then in May, he gets tased.
And then in May, twice. I'm going through comments to see what everybody's saying.
I have a question that I would, if you could clear up, because you probably know a lot more about this. What are the details about this person that is no longer alive that was named in the memorandum from the defense?
Say that one more time?
The person who's no longer alive, there's rumors they took their own life and that kind of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. That person's not in the memorandum. He's just supposedly part of the leak, which it all came out after the memorandum.
So what does that have to do with all of this? Because I don't know. It confused me.
Okay, so the memorandum comes out, points everything to this Odenism stuff because the defense team says there's the F on the tree and that the girls have these sticks on them that are shaped like the symbols and the basically the Asatru alphabet, or however you'd say it. And people were like, that's bullshit. Nobody believes that, blah, blah, blah. And then Robert, who was friends with Robert, who is no longer with us, put the picture of the F tree on social media with the impression that, this is why I have so many issues with this to begin with, but supposedly stating like, look, Court TV put out this little blot test thing that doesn't look anything like it, and here, look at the real F on the tree. And then Mark Robert puts that all over like every Delphi group possible, and to show people that it really is an F, and that Court TV is making like a huge joke of it. That, you know, that's not what it looks like. Here's what it really looks like. Now, then the supposed reason that the pictures of the crime scene are leaked, the rest of it with the bodies, is to show the sticks and to prove that it's Odenism, that the sticks do show what the memorandum says. Now, my issue here is that this guy who's putting all this out there, the third guy in the chain of events, says that he thinks that Richard Allen is guilty. So why would he care to post or send any of this stuff to prove the memorandum accurate if he thinks that Richard Allen is guilty? What would be his motive? Why is he trying to prove the defense is right if he thinks that Richard Allen did it?
I thought it was the opposite. I thought...
Tiny humans. The leaker who aligned himself had served overseas for multiple tours. We honestly have no idea what internal demons made him choose. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm hearing a rumor that Murder Sheets is now sponsored by Dove Shampoo Conditioner, the Rockaways. I shouldn't have clicked on your comment. Silly. Ooh, they tased him multiple times. I have proof they planted the tree. I don't know. I think he became part of the larger investigation involving KK, and he got tied up in these leaks, and that's why the FBI were the ones who confronted him. He felt the walls closing in. I don't. Which he are you referring to, Christine? Because technically, the FBI interviewed KK right after the murders, and the FBI said they did not believe that the Anthony shots and Keegan Klein side of the investigation had anything to do with the girls' deaths. They said that right off the bat.
I don't get how they're clearing people so quickly, like right off the bat.
Well, that was the FBI.
Right.
So
well, that's the other aspect that makes this crazy is the Keegan Klein stuff too, you know, and what are the chances? I don't know.
But no. I thought that the whole Mark thing.
Every time she hears Mom talk, she's like, I know I love the little voice though. I can't get over it. It's just so so tiny and cute, and they don't have it forever. So I'm just like, just let them have it for now. But anytime she hears Amber talk, she's like, I need all the attention. But and if Amber's not talking, then she doesn't care what Amber's doing.
Exactly. But no, I thought Mark was trying to push that there wasn't mishandlement by the law enforcement and all that. Like, it wasn't to support the defense, but I could be wrong.
Well, then, but what would putting the pictures of the crime scene out do to show that the prosecution didn't do anything wrong? How would that help?
I don't know. I think that they were saying that the defense is exaggerating and that it was not an F.
Well, the post, and when he posted it, he said he put both up. He put up the one from Court TV, and he put up the quote unquote real picture, and said, let's look at what the real picture shows. I guess for me, that implied theirs was bullshit and his was real. Like his was right. You take it the other way?
I'd have to relook at what he posted. I think he was calling Court TV out and saying that some image was like not even close to what it looked like or something.
Who cares if the tree says Odin or Thor or even Spider-Man? The crime scene is one of the most demented and terrifying events in criminal history, and that is what actually matters. The crime scene itself and not the tree, but if the tree is part of the crime scene, then it has to go, they have to go together.
Yeah, agree.
Logan and Klein was 100% ruled out as the killer, and that can be proven. I'm assuming you mean Ron Logan and not the other Logans. Generally, Jenny says, nah, it's a wild crime scene, quite demented. One of the most demented, though. There have been some, I don't know. I haven't seen it. I have heard from people who have seen it that it is not like the worst of crime scenes that have been shown. And I mean, you can Google crime scenes if it's something that interests you. Then I mean, there's really bad crime scenes out there, and of children. And I get it. I mean, I get, like, this is where I come in and Allie, you know, too, because we did this with the whole Gannon Stout thing too. I get that the families don't want the pictures out there, and as a mom, I would not want the pictures out there, but I don't harbor any ill feelings about looking at pictures like that. When I originally went to college, to be a homicide detective. Our books literally were filled with crime scenes. Right. So it's like they desensitize, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I don't want them out in the world because I get the family's issue, but I also understand that it is a crime scene. So, yeah,
I can't help it. I have that curiosity where I want to see it. I need to like visualize things like that to really grasp it. And maybe it's a morbid like curiosity or whatever. And I'm just a regular, true crime fan at home. But like you said, think about the people that are in for forensics, detectives, I don't know. I can see both sides of it too.
I know, I'm the same way, just curious, but.
Well, they say that Ron Logan was cleared, and there's the screenshot. Let me see if I have it. There's the comment from them saying that he's not involved. There's also the commentary, and I think it's actually by Tobe, who's saying that he is not considered a suspect at that time.
Yeah, so that screenshot is literally a month after the murder. So I'm just like, how are they clearing people then?
Let me see if I have it.
And still, I don't believe that, like, you can interpret it as that means he's cleared. Or to me, I don't interpret it as 100% saying that.
All right. So it says, ISP says media reports connecting Ron Logan to Delphi murders is false. It's a probation violation, no connection to the murder investigation. Now, this is right around arrest time. So maybe people were putting out on social media that he was arrested for the murders. And that's like the response is no, it's a probation violation. You see what I'm saying? Because that's around that date of the search warrants and everything when he got arrested. So I'm assuming that might be something to do with that.
Yeah, like it's literally saying the probation violation when he got arrested. He wasn't being arrested for the murders.
Right. I think somebody's like, oh my gosh, Ron Logan is arrested for the murders of the girls, and then they're coming. ISP's coming out saying no, he's arrested for a violation. That makes sense. And it doesn't say cleared, so it's all about the terminology. Yes, they've also said that the families aren't cleared. Nobody's been cleared.
But people who have been following this take this screenshot as saying no, Ron Logan was cleared.
But that's not true. Nobody's technically cleared.
Exactly.
Including Tobe Lesenby, then. Yeah, I don't... KK to me is just... let me see if I can find the screenshot that has to do with Keegan Klein when they said... Okay, maybe it's not that one.
And again, I'm not saying that Ron Logan is Bridge Guy or the murderer even, you know, it's just, I think that people need to kind of look at this case with fresh eyes.
Wasn't his probation violation because he lied about where he was at that morning, and or like something about him driving? It's been a long time since I've looked at the Ron Logan stuff, but it was because he lied about, Yeah,
he tried to have his cousin come up with an alibi for around the same time that the girls had gone missing. And then he said that his cousin drove him to the fish store, and that was his alibi. Well, he didn't go to the fish store till later than he said, and he was actually home at the time that the girls would have gone missing.
Mm-mm-mm.
Hold on, I'm looking at the chat real quick. KK was never at the bridge because witnesses never saw Klein there, and his phone signal was at his house during the murders. Okay. That would be... Amber, you've done a lot more with Keegan Klein than I have.
Yeah, that's the thing, is there's, like you said, that they came out saying that he wasn't connected, but then there's moments and quotes from Doug Carter saying that he can't comment on it.
Timing is super stinks. It's obvious that the leaker or leakers had the photos for months prior to leaking them, so why now, right after the defense alleges Ellie falsifying evidence? Well, I think that's the big thing for me, and the fact that the people investigating the leak are the same people who are being accused of being immoral and unethical.
That's what I mean. It's strange timing. Like, the year's almost over. You know, the trial was going to start in January, and then all of a sudden all this stuff takes place where now it's prolonged.
Yeah, who benefits from that? Let me see. Have you checked out Evansdale Murder Similar? Yes, I have looked at it. I haven't dug deep into it, but I have looked at it. I think if Ron was there, he was probably grumpy and pissed and wanted nothing to do with it. I still think KK is involved in some way, shape, or form. Well, I don't know, because there's the whole thing that came out with that the Jeep was there and something about the Marathon gas station. Like I said, I've not dug into the whole KK part of this whole thing. I did not think that he was involved.
But the other noteworthy thing too, you know, however you feel about polygraphs, he apparently like passed on the question that, or failed on the question that asked if he knew who killed the girls.
Keegan did.
Yes.
What else did he fail on? What other questions did he get messed up on?
I'd have to relook at stuff, but I did write that one down.
I'll have to dig more into the Keegan stuff, because I don't know. Was never really on that one. So I didn't, not that I didn't pay attention. I mean, I kind of paid attention, but I never dug like deep.
And then when Richard Allen was arrested and they did the press conference, the prosecutor up at the podium said he couldn't comment on Keegan because it's part of the investigation. Like, not as if it was part of Keegan's separate, like, charges. He said the investigation.
Got it. My opinion is that KK is the one connected to the group that catfished the girls to meet Anthony Schatz at a certain time at Monon High Bridge. You see, they'd have to be able to find some type of device of Richard Allen's that then ties him to having access to this Anthony Schatz account, or even ties him to the Kleins at all, which I don't necessarily see. Not yet, anyway. I don't see it. Said he couldn't tie his shoelaces. MB. Blah, blah, Carter and the rest of the Indiana police have been talking out of their ass this whole time. I don't know what to believe from them anymore. Well, don't you guys find it interesting that when they did that press conference and Tobe Lesenby goes up and he's like, you know, we got the guy, so on and so forth. And then Doug Carter goes up and he's like, you know, the investigation is still going strong and we're going to make sure that we, you know, find anybody else who's involved in this. And then when it's over and he's interviewed, and we're going to do that when we go through like the investigator ones, but Doug Carter, when he's asked by the reporter, like, so do you think they have the right guy? Like, do you think Richard Allen is Bridge guy? And he's like, well, the judge signed off on it. And so she like asks a different way. And he's like, well, the judge signed the arrest warrant. Like, so he doesn't say he thinks that. He won't say that he thinks that Richard Allen is the right guy. He says that the judge said that he's the right guy.
Yeah, he has. That is weird because there were instances where they've talked about if there's other people. And he said, right now, all we have is enough to charge Richard Allen. Like sort of like the same type of answer where it was like skirted around, but like saying that, you know, involving the courts, like pretty much saying like all they had was enough for Richard Allen. So it's like, but wait a minute. So do you think there's others involved or is there anyone else on your radar? You know what I mean? Like it has been weird answers in regards to, you know, Richard Allen.
So do they even think it's Richard Allen? Does Doug Carter even think it's actually him?
It hasn't felt like they've like said with confidence, in my opinion. But again, unless somebody can find another clip where it's more clear, it seems like wishy-washy in what I've seen.
What do you think, Allie? Do you think Richard Allen's the guy?
I don't know. You know, I usually typically have a lot of faith. I don't know why, because we see him mess up all the time, but I still have a lot of faith in these police officers, especially when the FBI is involved. But since that defense memorandum, I just can't say that anymore. So I don't know.
Okay, so do you think that it's possible that the Odenism stuff is necessarily there? Or do you think that's just super far-fetched?
I don't actually think it's that far-fetched, only because the number one, the guards have already admitted they follow this religion, or, you know, number two, we have people who they were being brought up years before we know in the area follow this religion. I've found videos of them doing ceremonies in the woods and things like that. So no, I don't know that I would believe they would sacrifice a human in this day and age. But then again, we see a lot of really wicked, evil stuff happen. So no, I don't actually think it's that far-fetched. To me, I think it seems far-fetched to other people. You know, I think that it might be a stretch for a lot of people, but for me, personally, no.
I just feel like Richard Allen had help. Like, I can't help but feel like there's no way Richard Allen pulled this off himself.
Somebody sent me, you guys know, like I don't typically do a lot of the psychic stuff, but somebody sent me a video that was a psychic. I'd never heard of her before. And it was like from 2 years ago. Paranormal, shoot, I'll have to look it up so I can tell you guys. Paranormal something, and the psychic was a guest on the show, and she was talking about Delphi, and she talked about that there's 3 people involved. And I know, like, once again, tinfoil hat, So she talks about that there's 3 people involved, and one's older, one's more middle-aged, and then one's like younger, like 18 to 20 something. And that the 2 sketches are 2 of the people that are involved, and they don't have the 3rd sketch. But some of the things that she says in there, I was like, that's like what the defense memorandum says. Like with Elvis says there was 3 people. He was there with 2 other people. Elvis says to his sister, like, I spit on one of the girls. You know, tells one sister, I want you to take my blue jacket. Well, it's just interesting that this psychic is like talking about like the things that I'm like, okay, so did the defense like listen to her talk, or did she actually like know something?
Oh, it's so strange when that happens. Like, and I know you're like kind of feel silly even considering it, but then again, I mean, how can you not when it's so similar to then what you hear a couple years later down the road? I don't think defense listened to her though. I think that just because, what are the chances of that? I've never heard of that lady. I mean, maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was just an interesting. I was like, wait a minute, she's saying 3 guys, and now here's Elvis, who's like, yeah, it was me and 2 other guys. And I think that part of the thing too is that I think they want to include like Patrick Westphal in the whole thing, and I think that's part of the issue is that they would have split off, and then Brad was supposedly creating this whole new like group for himself, and I'm wondering, and then with the Johnny Messer thing, I don't know, there's like a whole weird thing about it that makes me go, okay, I'm gonna that's me putting my tinfoil hat on for you guys real quick.
And you know that guy that we were, you know, the BH, I don't know if you say his name or not over here. I can't remember. Yeah. I know we've talked about him. Yeah. He, his social media is just concerning with all of the things that we've heard. Like the videos he's made. Oh, you think I look like the bridge guy? You know, I don't know. It kind of gives me the weird feelings. I can't help it.
Well, there's 2 parts that are interesting too. Is Patrick Westphal says that the reason that him and Brad Holder got in that fight is because Brad Holder was sneaking into like a Christian church like on the side, and he was like, you have to choose. And so he chose to go to the Christian church, but then his entire Facebook is about how he's like hardcore like Odenism. And the other thing is too is like Patrick had said that that Brad wasn't actually like part of this little elite group. He was a supporter. So even though he's like wearing the shirts and stuff, the supporters get to wear the shirts. Like they want him to support the club, that he was never actually in the club. But so C. King, I don't know if she's still here or not, but she's come in and she studied a lot to do with religion. And so one of the things that she had told us before too was that her interpretation of like what the memorandum says about the crime scene is that it's almost like childlike. And then the professor came out with, or, you know, they put the documentation from the professor that was missing, but then found, and so on and so forth. And he basically says it's almost like somebody who like wants to be an Odinist, but isn't actually like practicing, doesn't understand the whole thing. And I was like, this is like, that all kind of ties together to me.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, I don't know. You see him doing a lot of the like practicing runes and different things like that. I didn't know that, but that is so interesting.
The other thing I'm hung up on, which I showed in my live stream last night, is that young Justin Timberlake, everyone calls him, sketch. And like in the article from 2019, it literally says ages 18 to 40 or somebody who appears to look younger than they really are. And I'm like, but that's not Richard Allen. He doesn't look young for his age.
No, I agree.
So it's like this article that stated that was 2019. Now speed ahead for when Richard Allen gets arrested, and Doug Carter's trying to sell in an interview that the 2 sketches mixed together are Richard Allen.
But Doug Carter's the one that told us not to put the sketches together. He's also the one in 2019 who specifically said that the first sketch that was released is now secondary, and they believe that the young guy sketch is actually the guy who did it. He didn't say anything about putting them together until later. And now they want us to believe, after they tell us the 2 guys are completely separate, they tell the families we figured out who that is. That person's accounted for. Like, we're done with that. And this is where we're headed now. And the family had spent 2 years mailing, like Becky Patty would mail out flyers on her own dime so that there'd be more flyers of Bridge Guy out there in the world. And it was the old Bridge Guy sketch. So she had spent all of 2 years doing that. And then they're bombarded with, hey, here you go. Here's this new sketch. And told it wasn't the same, that this was the direction that they were going. But now in all the documentation, when they're talking about arresting Richard Allen, they say that both of those are the same guy, that both Sarah Carbaugh on 300 North and Betsy Blair on the bridge saw the same guy, and that guy is the same guy that was in Libby's video. They never have them actually go and like do any type of lineup that we're aware of. They don't show them pictures, nothing of actually Richard Allen where somebody says, hey, that's the guy I saw.
Yeah. And the sketches are just something like people who've been following this case, like sometimes they don't even want to discuss it because it's just one of those nonstop round and around conversations. Like no one can agree on like what exactly their method was. Lilith said something interesting about immunity. Hold on, let me scroll.
Let's say Allen snitches on KK now. Boom, there's your charges. True. Okay, up here. I would like to remind people how immunity works. Let's say KK gave info. That means they can't charge him for the info he provides, but any info they find outside anything he gave, they can charge. Absolutely. Correct.
Right. And
they
about
also
the river search.
Lied in any way, then they can charge him then too.
Yeah. So if KK rolled first and gives them information and they search the river, maybe find the murder weapon. I mean, what was that all about? Or using metal detectors in some river after KK spoke with authorities.
If they actually found something in that river search, then why wasn't that brought up at all? Why isn't that anywhere? They found something tying the river search to Richard Allen. That would be key evidence on how they got there. Why?
Maybe he's
going
to
lie and say, nope, we found this random ass old tip, which I know people are like, nope, the tip is sketch. It's a sketchy tip. And we don't believe that they actually lost this tip and then found it. We think that there's another reason that that somebody tipped in Richard Allen happens to be KK's getting talked to at the exact same time. There's another arrest by some other dude that was made, that Salinas guy that people say he was the one who tipped in Richard Allen. Now, the big question is, what would benefit the prosecution and the investigators by lying about that evidence? How would it benefit them?
What about what they found in the river, possibly?
Yeah, so say KK gave up Richard Allen, or Salinas gave, or anybody tipped in Richard Allen. Anybody. What benefits the prosecutors or the investigators by saying that they found this tip? How does that benefit them? How does it benefit them to lie about that? What do they get if they lie?
Maybe KK is like a key witness, so they're still kind of like needing him to kind of work with them under the radar, like on phone calls and stuff with his dad. Like maybe, you know what I mean?
But Keegan would know that he told them. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, why would law enforcement or prosecutors lie to us, the public, and say we found this long lost tip that makes them look like morons? You guys look like fucking idiots by finding this long lost tip. But why would they lie to us about that? And they actually got a tip from KK, or they got a tip from somebody else that turned in Richard Allen. I just don't see that it benefits them. This is my whole point of my question, is I don't see how it would benefit them to lie to us about that. What does it give them?
Just keeping it secret, possibly, like Amber said, like you know what I mean, holding their cards close to the chest until
he would go on the stand, maybe in the future. Like anything that he's given, maybe they just don't want out yet.
But wouldn't they just be able to say we got a tip? We got a tip that led us in this direction, so we searched here, we found XYZ.
Yeah.
Why make up the Dan Doolin lost a tip thing?
Maybe just saying we got a tip, they figured that would be too obvious that it came from KK. I don't even know. But I see what you're saying, and I don't know if I believe that they missed this whole. I don't know. I don't know what to believe, because there's just, to say that there's twists and turns in this case is really an understatement.
Oh my God, yes. It's unbelievable. It really is.
Okay, hold on. Sleuth said she sent me something in Messenger real quick.
Someone had commented a little bit ago, and I think that it's interesting. They said, come on, it's Occam's razor. They put him in the facility where they had their guys at, which is, you know, I don't know. It's just funny that he ends up in this prison. This is like, you know, not typical. You go to county jail until you're sentenced, then you go to prison. But he ends up in this prison where they just happen to have guards who are into this and do admit to wearing these patches and stuff.
Yeah. And then the guards are made to, they're wearing these patches up until this motion is filed and out public, and then they're asked to take them off.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, like, just to say, you know, just something I've noticed, this podcast that like acts like they're in the know of everything. I'm not trying to hate, but I'm just saying they didn't see Richard Allen coming. And when they were asked by Court TV, like, oh, is Richard Allen on your radar of all this stuff from your sources that you have? And they were like, no, we didn't see anything coming with Richard Allen. The same thing with the Odenism thing. It's like, I don't know. Obviously, these guards really were wearing these patches, you know, like it's just interesting to me, because they've also talked about, well, we've spoke to people in that prison and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't know. It's just interesting. Like, people, that's the thing, is people think that they know everything in this case, including like web sleuths and just people in my comment section and Facebook groups. But it's like, we really don't know anything 100% in this case.
No, you're exactly right.
Do you guys remember when they first started talking about the guy on the bridge, and the reason that they wanted to talk to him was because they had figured out who everybody else at the bridge that day was, and this was the only person that was missing, that they didn't know who that person was. So they said, like, they suspected, they wanted to talk to him for information. This is also what Sleuth just sent me too, so I'll show you guys this. But that the reason that they wanted to talk to him was because they had identified everybody else. But if the guy in sketch 1 and the guy in sketch 2 are two different guys, then that can't be true. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Repeat it again. I'm listening. I just need you to.
So if they said from the very beginning, they said the reason that they wanted to talk to the guy in the photo from Libby's video, the reason they wanted to talk to him was because they had talked to everybody else on the trail that day, and everybody else was basically identified except for this person in Libby's video.
Mm-hmm.
But then they came out 2 years later and said, hey, we actually already know who the guy is from the old guy sketch, and now we're focused on this guy right here, this young guy sketch.
Mm-hmm.
How did they not already know who the young guy sketch was if the only reason they wanted to talk to the old guy was because he was the last person on the trail that day that nobody talked to? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. And then that's the thing, is in that 2019 article that was talking about the young guy sketch, somebody in this article who was like an expert, I don't know, former law enforcement, something, basically was saying that he believed that they got a new eyewitness to come forward. And that was in 2019. I'm like, what?
But the thing is that she had actually been the one that came forward to begin with, and was there like February 17th or 18th and gave her initial statement and had that sketch done. They'd already had that sketch.
It wasn't a new eyewitness in 2019. So that's
sure wasn't.
I'm telling you, that's the thing, is like, there's more than one person involved, in my opinion. It keeps leading back to that for me. Richard Allen.
The young guy sketch literally has nothing to do with anything, and he was a guy that was standing on the bridge. because you don't see anybody on the bridge, according to law enforcement, and according to anybody on here who's gone through and looked at that photo, you don't see anybody on the bridge of the picture with Abby, and that's facing north, where that guy would have been standing and coming from. I have doubles. Do I really? Oh, shit, I do. Dumb.
So where does this Justin Timberlake guy come from?
That's my question. That's the same one, too. Oh, here it is. Dumb. It fits more into that there's definitely more than one person involved. Oh, let's see what you guys said. Is Alan a young guy with curly hair? No, absolutely not. And nobody else who supposedly saw that guy even saw his hair.
Richard Allen, I haven't seen one picture of him with remotely curly hair. And like I said, in that 2019 article I read last night, it said this person is age 18 to 40 or an older person who looks younger. That's not Richard Allen either.
No. What about BH's son that was dating one of the girls? Was he too young to be that sketch? He was only like 15 or 14, right? I don't remember what he looked like.
16 at the time, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot of people are thinking, well, then was one guy the dad and one guy the son?
Right. It seems to me there's a young person involved in this somehow, some way, and it's not Keegan Klein.
I don't think Keegan Klein's out there on the bridge.
Right.
I don't think he's out there climbing up and down hills. I'm sorry, I just don't. And the whole point about catfishing is that you say you're going to meet people and you don't actually do it.
Yeah.
Because then they know who you really are and they don't talk to you anymore. So you can't really give up the facade.
Right.
Otherwise you're screwed. And you lose the context.
Yeah.
See, remember the thing with the earrings and the Erskine text about it being him and his sister's husband's boyfriend being the one that found them, and his sister ends up having an earring in her pocket allegedly? I remember the stuff about the sister's boyfriend's husband stuff, but I don't remember an earring. I don't remember that. And then they dug small holes at a fire pit? Nope, don't remember that either. Why does everyone act like there's only 2 or 3 ways to come from? It looks like there's 20 or more different ways to the bridge. Well, somebody easily could have come from the south, started walking on the bridge, and then turned around after them. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And at that point, no witness from the bridge or the trail would have any idea who that person was, because they came from the south and then turned around and came after them.
Well, the other thing too is sort of along the same lines as that question is like, who's to say that somebody wasn't waiting down the hill already and stuff? So like they didn't come through those entrances. Maybe they came through Ron Logan's like entrance, you know what I mean? The property.
Right. Or through the Webbers, which is where one of the searchers, he goes up through, let me show you, hold on. He goes up through the Webbers property down by where the Lieberts and the Webbers live, and he walks that way. That's where he says that he found all the animal bones the night of the search. Let's see if I can pull it up and show you. So, and then I believe it's Kay Weber who said that that people do come that way, and the girls have actually come that way before. Let's see if I can show you. So like, here's like the Weber house. So here, okay, so let me kind of put you into orientation. Here's your bridge, right? Here's Ron Logan's properties over here, highlighted in yellow. So they cross the creek and go that way. Well, down here, they could easily come up into any of this area, walk through these woods, walk through over here. The Weber's property's over here. There's also the private drive, which nobody was at the Weber's until like 3:30 that day, supposedly. So, I mean, this would have all been empty until the son got home. And then Eric Williams says that he actually walked in this area, and this is where he saw the animal bones that looked like weird sacrifices and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there is so much room, I feel, for people just laying in the bush waiting to, be a part of all this.
Right. Well, if you talk about come through the cemetery, go straight down, come this way, start walking that way, decide to turn around, come back. I don't know how they're going to prove that that's the only way that there was.
Yeah. Especially since they're also stating, well, it was somebody from the community or visits the community often or, is incorporated in our community, knows the area. They would have known that those people whose properties are around there weren't home at the time, like would have known Ron Logan wasn't home at the time because they're familiar with, kind of stalking the area. Because I don't think it was like a crime of opportunity. Like this seems very much like planned.
Okay, so I says, I don't think the girls ever made it to the bridge that day. I get a lot of comments about this, you guys. I get a lot of comments that nobody actually says they saw the girls there. Betsy Blair says she thinks she saw the girls there when she was there, but nobody else actually puts them at the bridge besides Kelsey.
In the Snapchat picture?
That's the problem with the whole Snapchat thing, is that you can upload stuff to it. You can also take the pictures at a different time. People think that they're manipulated, that the Snapchat picture doesn't look real. There's a lot of people who think that they didn't ever get there.
I mean, I'm open to everything. I just would have to figure out why the sister said she dropped them off there. And I would need to know if that Snapchat picture was previously taken. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things for me to kind of iron out before I'm like really on board with that, but I'm open to it.
Yeah, I've not heard that one before, actually.
Yeah, I get that one a lot. I haven't found anybody who's like really, if you guys in chat know like somebody who's really pieced it together well, like for me to listen to or talk to, that kind of lays that theory out in a way that makes sense.
Well, then that would mean the bridge guy video wasn't from that day and time then either. So I just don't know.
Well, so that's part of the reason that people talk about this phone and why the phone is an issue. Why would a guy go there, kill the girls, and let them keep the phone? Like, why would the phone even be there? And especially now with the phone being found under Abby, I did kind of go with the whole, well, she had Libby's pants on, maybe the phone fell out of the pants, but then it's like, how did she end up on the shoe? Why is the Abby shoe phone all right there? Like, that's weird. So the reason that the phone would purposely be left there is because there's a video of some random guy on the bridge. To say, hey, go look over here.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy who did it. Because at the very beginning, they constantly say that we cannot say for certain that the guy that's saying guys down the hill is the guy that's walking on the bridge.
Yeah, and they've said that the scene was moved and staged. So who's to say that phone data isn't part of the staging as well?
Right. That's like kind of the whole theory behind it. But I've never seen it really like laid out in such a clear way that I'm like, okay, I could totally buy into that. Because to me, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'd keep it as an option, but I don't know if I'm ready to like jump down that as like my new way of thinking. But who knows with this case? What if it is something like that? And this whole time, like we didn't take into account that maybe these pictures that were leaked, one of them was taken by the perp. That totally like threw me for a loop when Ruckus threw that theory out there. I was like, oh wow, like.
Channel is Shadowman Delphi. Let me write it down. I'll take a look at it.
Start from beginning. I'm not monetized, so not trying to get clicks. Interesting.
Yeah, that's true. Like Jay Do said, there would be metadata on the video that police could see exactly when and where the video was shot. Right. And why would they be putting this information out as like, this is them, this is the last image of Abby? You know, if they had already known through metadata that like it was taken at another time and kind of staged, unless that was part of like this tactic, but I don't know.
So, Dustin, you think the girls were there and that they were just killed further away and then brought to where they were? Kind of what I think a lot of people think. But you think they were actually just killed right there in the woods. There's some people who believe that they were taken to either the shed or the barn across the street and then brought back there sometime in the wee morning hours when there wasn't really anybody searching. There was a few people left out there, but not a ton. And then they came back the next morning to search.
I think that's a good theory.
That they were
do we
killed
know if
somewhere.
the CI went to that barn and did any processing?
There's that one picture that I remembered, and I think I sent it to you. Let me see. It's a picture of the Mears barn, and there's like shit. There's like flowers at the barn, and there's like a caption on it that says something about like the first flowers at the crime scene or something like that. You guys are in chat. Remember that picture? Allie, do you remember that picture?
With the flowers,
Yeah.
you said? Yes, I do remember that. I just seen it the other night because I was after you guys were talking about the leaks. I was just looking at like old posts on Reddit, old photos that were leaked and stuff like that, and I just seen it again the other night.
Interesting that they put flowers there. You know, usually people do that at the site of, you know, the body was found here or whatever, you know?
Yeah. So I don't know, but I only have it in a screenshot. I don't have an original source. Oh, we lost Allie. Oh, there she's back. Allie, we lost you, then you're back.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I lost. I could see you guys, but like the map became a loading sign for me.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me see. Let's see if I can find it real quick.
So even if it is Snapchat, they'll be able to get like a warrant and subpoena through Snapchat and then see exactly the metadata for the video of Bridge Guy and Abby. So I know that people are wondering, you know, well, Snapchat is different, blah, blah, blah. They would still be able to figure all that out.
Oh yeah. The FBI cast team is people I think don't understand like how good they are and how advanced technology is. They'll just like with the phone pings and things like that, I don't know, they're just really good and they're much better and more advanced than we realize.
Right. And like
But
the
the problem is,
too,
I don't know if they actually used the cast team. I don't know if they actually went and did a geofence. This is one of the things, and I want to talk to, I know Humanimal has done a lot on with the phone pings and where the towers and everything are, and I haven't looked that far into it yet, but from what I can tell, they just looked to see whose phone was pinging in that area, because Robert Ives, the original prosecutor, says that what they were doing was, you know, he was working on a lot of search warrants, but it was hard because he couldn't prove why he needed a search warrant for all these phones just because they were in that area, which would make sense because if there's only like one tower in that city, essentially there's only like one tower, so basically everybody would be coming off of it. There's like one over by Richard Allen's house, and then there's one that's like right there. So anybody who was in that general vicinity would be pinging off of this one tower. And if they didn't actually go through and do any type of like geofencing, they're working at ass backwards like old technology.
Right. Oh, surely still, to God they did.
With Snapchat, that's not so much the pinging information. That is just they would pull from their cloud or server that Snapchat has, and that would have the metadata that they needed.
Yep, you're right. And oh my gosh, I will be really surprised if the FBI doesn't use all tactics they have as far as the phones go.
So the FBI was randomly in the area, and I don't know, I have not been able to prove why they were there at that specific time. I've heard different stories. So they were never in charge of the investigation. They were asked to come in and help. And I'm almost positive in mid-21, end of 21, they were asked to leave.
Oh,
So they have
Yeah.
not been part of the investigation now for a while. They were not part of the investigation with Richard Allen.
And I'm telling you, it's because they don't see eye to eye on things. Like they're not
Wow.
agreeing behind the scenes, I'm thinking.
wow.
But you don't need FBI to get the server and all that from Snapchat.
No, but that is so interesting. That is,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
You would think that they would take all the resources they could. I think there was
Yeah.
people in charge who just couldn't agree.
Yep. Oh,
Well,
wow.
They wanted Ron Logan, and I think the FBI pretty much said, yeah, no, Ron Logan, we're done. And then they wanted Keegan Klein. They started with that. FBI goes, no, we don't think that he's involved in this. And then they could remember like Lesenby and Liggett and all of them essentially said, oh no, Patrick Westfall, the Odenites, Brad Holder, all the tips that were coming in about Brad Holder. They ruled Brad Holder out and said, no, it's not him. It's not him, not Odenites, done. But then we know that from the memorandum, you have Click, Murphy, and Ferenczi, who were part of the FBI task force that were still investigating Odenites and had people legit essentially working undercover. You know, they had CIs, you know, and Amber Holder, who's asking Brad Holder questions to see what he comes up with, and she's reporting back to the FBI task force. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, they're still thinking that these are the people that are involved, and then they're asked to leave.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. That says a lot to me.
Yeah, it's like these differences in opinions, I think, really hurt this.
Or like, and I'm not being, I hate even thinking like this, but, or is it that they didn't want them there because they couldn't pull off whatever stunt they were pulling off? You know, that makes me, I can't help but wonder that. That's bizarre. Like you said, Amber, why not take all the resources you can get? And usually most cases they do.
Yeah. That is really kind of a red flag in a way. Not sure if that feels the same. This is weird though, this picture, the first sentence.
Yeah, the first ever photos of the Delphi kill site, the barn on the Mears property across the street, flowers in the barn. This in addition to the photos of dogs searching the barn and my investigators' discussions with Mears family members solidified my conclusion that this was the kill site. No one knows exactly where the girls were killed. Perhaps it was here. Once again, I only have this screenshot. I have no idea where this originated. I don't have a date. I got nothing.
It's weird.
It's just a weird.
Like, why did they think it was the kill site? And then follows it up with, we don't really know. It's just something must have been whispering around, and for someone to put flowers there, that's where something happened.
Yeah, Christine, I don't remember this being in that blog. It could be, but I don't remember that. You'd have to go back and look at the blog to tell me one way or the other.
I think that was one of the, one of the blogs I found doing these deep searches on Reddit and stuff with this. They were like brought up a lot. Was that the blog that was
paper blog that was out before, and they did like some weird, like zooming in and had some weird photos of what they claimed to be the girls. It was just weird. The whole thing was kind of off. I don't know who they are or where they were getting their information.
Yes.
So
I saw that the other night, and it was this like the photos from the helicopter, but they also had other photos on there, like, you know, just other photos, not of the crime scene, but of like, there was that guy like, you know, doing It looks like he was like doing fingerprints or something at a crime scene. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. I see. I think the girls were killed where they were found. I think they were probably killed maybe 10, 20 feet away, but I think they were killed there, and I think they were left there, and I think that nobody found them. I think the search was so disorganized on the first night that nobody knew what they were doing. Nobody knew what they were looking for, and I just think they weren't found.
I could
That's
see
my
that
thought.
with how everything else has been so disorganized.
Yeah. Well, where do people think that they would take them? And then why would they bring them back there? I agree with you.
That's
with
true.
that.
Like, why risk moving them a dead body? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Back to the place where you
Well, I don't
kidnapped
think they
them
were
from. Or
dead.
whatever.
Yeah, they were. I think they were. The whole thing was that they were taken somewhere else, and things happened, and that's where possibly there was the blood taken, or any type of, if there was. We say no SA, but it's really hard to say if there wasn't. We don't know. Nobody's actually told us that, but we say. I mean, it's been pretty much the consensus that there wasn't, but we don't know. And then they kill them, drain the blood, do whatever, and then they bring them back there.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't.
I don't know. It's risky too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that would definitely be more than one person if they were kind of being messed around with or whatever prior to this whole death scene.
The only reason I could see them bringing them back there would be like to make a statement or prove a point because they knew they were missing from there and searching there. I guess that could be possible. But otherwise, it's just kind of weird that they would bring them back there. And like you said, risky. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, Freckle Joy. Is that true? A psychic put those flowers there? Is that where that came from?
Ooh,
Because she felt like that's where they died?
I think that's still noteworthy.
That's interesting. Can't type it in 200 characters or less. See, King, here's the thing, is even if Richard Allen confessed to his attorneys, they still would represent him. They can't, it doesn't matter. Plenty of people confess to the crime. They can't go on and say, like, blatantly lie about whatever, but they don't have to go, they have no legal obligation to have to say, he confessed, I want out. That's just too bad. It doesn't matter. And also, no, it doesn't really. It doesn't really matter because even if you confess, that their job is to make sure that you have the best defense possible. And they're not, what do you call it? That's not true though.
Yeah, they can know
can't
you're
go in front of
guilty.
the judge and lie, but they can go and defend a guilty person. They absolutely can, because here's the thing: the prosecutor and the defense attorneys, and I'm not going to use the right legal jargon here, but they're not the determiners of guilt. They cannot say whether somebody is guilty. That is for the judge and the jury. They can't go, oh, well, he did it, so I don't want to be his attorney anymore. They can't do it.
Right.
They don't even have to use the Odin defense when they go to trial. That could just be part of the memorandum to get the suppression, to get the evidence suppressed. I am not going with that one. They don't think it has anything to do with him confessing. I don't. Because people confess all the time. And that's what I tell you guys. I could go into a police station right now and say, I killed my neighbors, and they can't do anything about it. They have to have evidence that supports that. And the defense attorneys are, I think they call it like not the arbiters. I'm not going to use the right legal word. But no, it doesn't matter if he confesses.
Well, that's privileged information anyways. I mean, you know what I mean? If he confessed to him, that wouldn't matter. They just, I guess, couldn't lie and say that he didn't, but they wouldn't bring it up. They would still have to give him the best defense possible,
if he
as
did
if he was not
confess
guilty.
to them, they could even start the ball rolling with some mental, we need him evaluated, he's not in his right mind, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
I'm not buying.
They can go in and say, they could still go in and use the Odin defense. Here's the thing. One, every opening statement and closing statement is not evidence. The defense attorney can say whatever the hell they want to. Let's go back to Casey Anthony.
Yep, that's true.
He goes in there and in the opening statement blames George Anthony. Says, nope, this is what happened. George Anthony covered it up. Guess what? The entire testimony had nothing to do with George Anthony covering it up. Could say whatever the hell they want because it's not evidence. So that's number one. And they can lie.
Yeah.
So
they can lie.
Well, I mean, you think that George Anthony covered it up?
No, I don't actually. So yeah, I didn't think about that.
I was judge.
Okay.
They have to be able to say, you know, basically it's like to the jury, it's like, this is what if this happened? We think that this is what could have happened.
Could it even get to the point where, say this was going to happen in January and they didn't quit, pretend, where the judge, or maybe they would come to agreement of like, no, you're not going to bring this Odenism stuff to court?
No. So what all the defense has to do when it comes to the Odin stuff is they don't have to say, Brad Holder is the guilty party here. They can just simply go, here's our expert on Odenism. Here's our professor who got talked to, who was missing, not missing, who says it looks like it could be something childish in this, aspect, whatever. And then they go and they put all these people on the stand, and then they put somebody else on the stand who says, hey, do you have any connection with Richard Allen to anything to do with some type of Odenism or any type of ritualistic or anything like that? Yes. They're not lying. They're simply asking questions that lead the jury to believe one way. They're not. That's why I say they can't lie because they have a code of conduct they have to go through. But they can definitely lead. They're telling a story, just like the prosecutor's telling a story. So all they want when it comes to circumstantial evidence is for a jury to buy what they are selling. So they tell a story that says this piece of evidence plus this piece of evidence plus this piece of evidence equals this. Now, the defense, well, we have this piece of evidence that matches this piece of evidence that matches this, and now you have reasonable doubt.
This reminds me of this recent thing with the Letitia Stout trial because, okay, first of all, I remember it said multiple times during the trial what you said. What the attorneys say is not evidence, period. But number two, there was an article that came out afterwards, and her attorney was saying, we didn't, she was lying to us, she was lying to everyone else, they didn't believe it was anonymous, but you could make out that it was her attorney because they said it was a Colorado recent case, very big 11-year-old boy. The woman was taunting people, lying, she was even lying to us, but we have to do our job and give her the best defense possible. You know what I mean? So even though that they felt how they felt about her, they still had to present a defense, which we've seen all that play out, but it's kind of similar to that.
They barely went hard for Letitia, in my opinion, but that's totally different story.
Right. But, her attorneys still tried to sell the story, like Teresa's saying, this multiple personalities defense, even though inside they felt one way, they still had to do their job.
And that's the thing, too, is like, what is the prosecution's theory at this point? We know the defenses. So right now we're supposed to believe Richard Allen did all this himself. Like, is that what they're pushing?
Say that one more time.
What is the like, we know the defense's theory at this moment before they quit. And it was going to go down this Odenism route. For prosecution, like, what is it? Is it that Richard Allen acted alone and he did all this himself? And like, what is the motive? Was this a snuff film? Like, they haven't come out and said like, why?
No. Well, they're not coming out and really saying anything because remember, they want to keep everything close to the vest until trial. So they're not coming out and telling us anything. The only way we get to know anything is because of the filings for the court.
Yeah. And the gag order obviously is preventing all that too, but see, that's why I just feel like these gag orders don't really do the prosecution justice either. Like, it doesn't.
No, they're ridiculous. And what's with the gag order anyway?
Right. And then we get leaks anyways. So can we just take the gag order off?
It makes it worse. It makes the case a whole cluster F.
Kathy, does the state of Indiana, you don't have to prove motive? Because I know some states you do and some states you don't. I've actually never looked at that one for this state.
I always thought it was every state, but yeah, I
No.
mean, definitely some states don't need it, but I feel like it helps. Like it can't hurt 12 jurors, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm see if I can pull it up real quick. Does the state of Indiana have to prove motive in a homicide trial? All the state needs to prove is that somebody was killed due to the accused depraved act. It is a misconception that the state needs to have proof of a motive in order to have a successful homicide investigation. A witness does not have to have personal knowledge. No, they don't have to have motive.
Well, you know, it's like that's the thing is like to sway 12 jurors, even though it's not happening in January anymore. Like I was sort of concerned even before all these leaks and stuff happened. Like after this defense motions were put out, it's like way too much reasonable doubt. And then the prior leaks about the Keegan Klein transcripts and Ron Logan property search warrant being leaked, like all that for me caused a lot of reasonable doubt. And I, you know, can't imagine what the jury is going to be thinking.
And I know like people in chat, like it's all over the place. I get it, but that's the whole point. Like we're just discussing it and discussing all the different possibilities and the options. It's kind of the whole point of this. It's not really a narrative. There's no narrative to be spun. It's literally titled a case discussion. So we can just talk about all the things.
Yeah. And I've said it before, this case needs fresh eyes, like from law enforcement and I think platforms covering this.
And we don't all have to agree. I like when we disagree. I like when the chat disagrees, just because it makes you think harder and it makes our theories more sound one way or another.
Yeah. And like, I don't know the legal process that well. You know what I mean? It's not anything I went to school for. So learning through you guys and through chat, like that's just, I love it.
Me too. I don't know it well either. Teresa is a huge wealth of knowledge for some of that. And also, like, I've just been learning by watching other cases play out and then talking to you guys, which, yeah, I love it too.
So, okay. So I'm going to comment on this one more time. And I want you guys in chat to understand that this channel, and one of the reasons I have these two ladies as my guests is they're really the same way. I don't care what your opinion is. I don't care what you think. I only expect that you guys be kind to each other at all times. I do not agree with C. King. I do not think C. King is a troll. I'm totally okay that her perspective is completely different. That's fine. Please be kind to each other. Mm-hmm. I do not have any satanic panic defense. I have a problem with the shady businesses of law enforcement and the investigators and the prosecution doing things in any type of shady way.
In the prison.
The prison themselves. Exactly. I have issues with all of that. Now, I know, and I talked about this earlier, and I don't think you were in here, C. King, but I know that we talked about like this whole playing acid-true side of things, and that the crime scene itself would be very juvenile-esque or somebody who doesn't really understand what they're doing. I don't believe this has anything to do with satanic panic. I don't actually think that they were out there to sacrifice, for their gods or whatnot. I don't even think that. What I think is there's something wrong with what is happening. And I don't think that you can count on his confession until you hear it in a court of law. And I will stand by that. But you guys just be kind to each other. I don't care if you agree.
Yeah. And just like the Koberger case, I mean, you can think what you want, but for me, I'm always confused by people who are like 100% certain about someone's guilt or innocence before the trial. But I love everyone's opinions. I just feel like, how could you know for sure until they've laid it all out for these people in the jury whose opinions on it all, matters the most?
Jail. We can tell you a lot of stories of the Delphi police corruption. We got info about it. It's very weird in facts. Dustin, I really wish that you would start like a website and have all of this stuff posted so that it would be easily accessible and we'd be able to see all the things that you've done with all of your research. It'd be
Yes,
so
with
much
sources.
easier to be able to see. Yeah. Yeah,
I would
that's
love
a
to
great
do that.
point. Who else confessed? Elvis. And Elvis confessed before the girls were even found.
And to a cop, right?
No, his first confession was to his
To his
sister
sister.
on
That's
the 14th before the girls were found.
And then he gets interviewed and says it to somebody in person, right?
Yeah, later on he's interviewed by Honest Murphy and tells him like, "Oh, if I spit on one of the girls
Yes.
and I had a good reason for it, would that be okay? Like that'd be okay, right?"
And that, very red flag, obviously, but also to me, it almost goes along with the theory. And I don't know if he's still listening, but Johnny in chat has said, like, did people stumble on the bodies that, didn't say that they had found them already or something?
Wait, what?
Like, were people tampering at the crime scene, but didn't like tip it off to police or something? Because if Elvis is saying he spit on the bodies, it's like, I don't know. It just makes me wonder if the idea that maybe people were contaminating the area, could be legit. Or like, who put the clothing in the river? Like, was it the girls dropping it in there? Or was it the perpetrator throwing it in there? Was it searchers or Ron Logan? Like, I want to know every little thing. Like, where is there able to touch DNA from any of the clothing in the river, or what's going on?
I don't know if we'll ever know, to be honest. Unless somebody actually confesses to that they threw the clothes in the water, I don't think that we'll ever know how they got there. It'll always just be, whatever is suggested to us by...
It's such a crazy piece to the puzzle to me is the clothing. I can't get past it. And for my notes, when I talked to Ruckus on the phone, I believe, and correct me if you remember, because I know I told you about it, that he had stated he thought that the clothing looked wet, but then Rick said that it wasn't wet.
Yeah. So,
that she was
somebody
wearing.
said that it looked like it was like the pants were a little wet from the bottom, but I also wondering how clear these images even could be if they are, how pixelated it is when you take a photo of your computer screen.
I know. It's like
that
we need to see
tough.
it to give the best like discussion right now. I have to say, like, I guess we would have to see for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because people who have seen it, that's the other thing. Everyone's perception is different. And people who have seen these photos are saying different things. Like some of them are saying there were antlers. Some of them are saying they're more like devil horns. Others are saying that there weren't any. So I'm just confused. And I just want to iron it out so that we can, discuss what we've seen, I guess.
Well, there has to be something above Abby's head.
Yeah, because the motion.
That's what's in the whole memorandum. It talks about, where the sticks are, how they are, and that there's something above Abby's head. And then everybody's essentially said there is something there, but it looks different to everybody.
Right.
What do you think, Allie?
I don't know. I'm just sitting here thinking about it all. I just don't know. So this Elvis person, what did he say about the antlers or?
Let me pull that up real quick. I'll show you.
Okay. So Teresa, you asked me, and I'm curious what you guys think. If I thought Richard Allen was the guy, and then what I believed about the other suspects, but I'm curious where you stand right now, because just based on the conversation, I feel like you're pretty skeptical. But is that the way that you feel?
I honestly don't know. There's things that are missing for me, and I hope that when we get to trial that those things are answered. I have an issue with the timing. with the 12:30 to 1:30 and the 1:30 to 3:30 issue. I need something around that says, look, we are putting you on the, like you, Richard Allen, on the bridge or on the trail at, 1:45, or even later than that, you know what I mean? Like 2:10, something that says, yes, he was there at that time. I struggle with the whole, well, he says he was there. Well, yeah, so did 14 other people I have on this list. So they all say they were there too, all around at the same time. And it's like, well, the girls' video is at 2:13. Okay, so we just want to look at the people that are there at 2:13. And then we go back to the same thing I was telling you about the sketches. It's like, well, how do you say that you only want to talk to this guy because he's the only one you can identify if you have so-and-so guy down here on platform 1 that you also don't have an identity for? You're lying. So I struggle with that. The girls, we know that people were in and out of that trail essentially all day because it was a makeup snow day and it was a nice day outside. Unseasonably warm. You'll hear it on every documentary when it comes to the case. It was unseasonably warm. So tons of people, tons of groups of girls were out there.
Yeah.
We know of multiple groups of girls that were out there in different quantities, but still. Right. He says that he potentially saw 3 people, and that's according to the prosecutors on their documentation. On the defense documentation, he says he didn't see anybody. But on the prosecutor's documentation, he says that he saw 3 girls. Well, the girls who say they saw him, that's 4 of them, but they only interview 3, saying the other one's too young, which it doesn't make sense to me. They interview all the time on all cases. So, okay, well, that makes but whatever. So how do we know that he actually saw the same set of girls? So it's like, oh, well, he said he saw girls and the girls saw him. And it's like, okay, well, what about that other group of girls? Or do we know what group of girls was there? What group of girls was there at 12:30? Is there another group that was leaving when he says he was getting there? So I struggle with that. And then the car situation bothers me.
Yes.
And whatever happened to the white work truck? Remember there was a white work truck?
The problem is the eyewitness accounts just not being that credible or like that. So it's so hard with the trucks and like you were saying, the girls seen on the bridge. It's like you have to put so much faith in eyewitness accounts. And we all know that that's just not something that we can always hang our hat on. I mean, it's just funny how in some cases eyewitness accounts matter, in other cases they don't matter. Like in Lacey Peterson, all the people who said, no, we saw a pregnant girl walking around this time, the dog.
Irrelevant.
Crazy.
We're not going to call any of those people to the stand.
Yeah.
Okay, what else doesn't add up?
Those are probably my biggest things. Because I don't care. And this is what I try to tell people. Like, I don't care if Richard Allen is guilty. Like, I have no personal investment in his innocence or his guilt. Like, that's not, I don't know the guy. I don't know his family. I have no personal, like, saying, like, the guy is totally innocent, leave him alone. Or the guy is totally guilty, he totally did it. There's pieces that are missing. And if they don't fill that in for me, I can't say that I think that this guy's the right guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you said in your live the other night, like if you were on the jury with everything that we have, obviously they have more evidence, but just when people ask me and my stance, like, how do you feel about Richard Allen? I'm just like, if I was in the jury with everything we have right now, like, I don't think I could send this guy to prison forever, Yeah.
If you only could go off of what you know right this second.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to either.
I couldn't either. Well, Amber, what is your biggest thing or couple things that make you feel that way? Like Teresa named hers.
I'm not sold that he's by himself for all this. That's really like just, the Anthony Schatz account, the Ron Logan, certain aspects with him, like he might not be the killer, but did he know of something that was going to take place on his property and he okayed it or whatever? Talking about the phone data, his phone in the report said that it pinged like around the area, and people argue, well, yeah, he lived in the area. So of course, he's going to be pinging in that area, but it's like, you could say that, or it could be something, it could be because he was at the crime scene. Like, you can't say 100% on anything in this case. So for me to say Richard Allen all by himself that day, you know, I don't even know like why would Richard Allen just like do this to girls who were around the same age as his daughter? Like, he did have a domestic violence situation with his wife on a 911 dispatch record, but no charges pressed. So it's kind of like, how does this all come into play? And then I think like, okay, well, maybe it's like a CP ring, and these type of people protect each other, and they're very, very hush hush with each other, and they, you know, keep their circle super tight. So it's like, was it something like that? I just have a hard time, I guess, even with a gun. You know, these girls obviously were smart enough to take the video, you know, of Bridge Guy. You're out there. It is a risk, obviously, if you run from somebody holding a gun. But I feel like out of two girls, I have a hard time believing that like one of them wouldn't have tried to run. So I just feel like there was another person helping in all this. Because even if they ran, he's going to shoot a gun on a day that there's so many people out there and it makes that noise. Like, it just is too high risk for one person, Richard Allen, 5'4".
Well, that's another thing, is the whole height thing. They had experts clearing up this video and audio and whatnot from NASA. And you're telling me they didn't get an accurate height?
And the FBI report reviewing the video and the gait and the voice, and saying that Ron Logan is not inconsistent with the gait and Ron Logan is not inconsistent with the voice. It's like, oh my gosh. Like, does anyone know what's going on here? Because this guy, even before he died in 2022. So I know that it takes a long time to build a case against somebody, but it seems like maybe they wasted a lot of time in the wrong people, perhaps, or, you know, it's just weird how long it took to get to Richard Allen.
Yeah, the guy who's just down the road, just handing out pictures and running a pharmacy.
Right, whose daughter was taken a picture on the bridge, like for her senior pictures or whatever, and owned the same tie-dye shirt. Like, I feel like Richard Allen, I think there's something that leads to him being involved in this. I just, like I said, I just cannot imagine it's just him. I'm having a hard time.
For it to be multiple people with Richard Allen, like, you'd have to be able to see like who his friend group would be. Like, you know, it can't just be the guy that you talk to at the bar every once in a while, because
Right.
That guy's not going to go, yeah, let's totally go to the bridge and kill 2 teenage girls. That sounds fantastic.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, for him to be, everything is there.
It's just him and his wife, from what I see.
Besides Saturday nights out at the pool place. Like, that's like the big thing.
I know.
So, like, who was he involved with that there would even be any type of ring of people?
And then that's the thing. And then, okay, so say there's other people involved that we just don't know of. Who is this young Justin Timberlake sketch?
Right. That has to be a different person.
That's what I'm saying. I just keep going round and round. I don't know. I'm sure chat does the same.
I do. It is. It's kind of round and round. So Delana says, and we don't know how he treated his own daughter. And this is actually something that I have a big question about, is why doesn't his daughter show up to any of his hearings? This puts me like in the like guilty pile. Like, where's your daughter? His wife shows up and his mom shows up.
Good point.
Why doesn't his daughter ever come?
And his wife said, "Oh, there's my person," or whatever she said.
What?
Remember?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, it was reported by one of the reporters there, like the local news, that when he came out, she went, "Oh, there's my person."
Yeah.
Do you
But his
remember that,
daughter
Teresa?
doesn't show up to support him.
I'll have to find it for you, Amber. I didn't know his daughter wasn't going there, but we have like her senior pictures on the bridge and some, yeah, I don't know. I'm sure she feels
And
probably.
how did no searcher see that tie-dye shirt in the water? That's the other thing I don't get too.
Well, I don't think anybody was really searching that crazy until later, because it was only the family. He called his mom. Derek called his mom, so Libby's grandma. She calls Mike at work, and then they all go there. They get a hold of Kelsey, who shows up there for like an hour, and then she goes to work, and they get a hold of Anna, and she comes, and then she tells her, I don't remember who's, because Eric is a friend of one of the uncles, but I don't remember which girl's uncle it was. So like there's just kind of like word of mouth that kind of just starts off. They don't call cops till 5:30. So if you think, I mean, it gets dark at what, 6:30? I have that time written down that the sun actually went down that night. Yeah. So when they're searching, it's dark out there. I don't know if they really could track where they were searching, and that's what the public information officer Riley, he said, you know, it was like chaos. People were peeing, people were spitting.
Doesn't Ron Logan say in that interview, he's like, I got home around 5:30, and my neighbor comes up to me and says if they want to go on my property to look for these girls, and that was the first time I heard of it. Yeah,
he sure does.
So then it's like, how far away was the clothing from the girls?
Well, I've heard both now. I've heard it was on the south side of the water, which would be like towards the bridge. And then I've also heard that it was actually just down I wonder if I have that picture. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It's the picture of the crime scene from the other side of the bridge. And you can see it's like a 4-foot drop, essentially. So if you're not like walking on the edge looking down into the water, I don't think you would see it.
Yeah, I'd like to get the exact distance just to see, even if not talking about like why they didn't see it, but just to see, like maybe feel out like how did this happen type of thing. Like, because them being all together too, to me is weird too. Like I'd have to, I guess, see the current and the flow of the current to know for sure. But like you would think that like they would have gotten more spread out.
But you'd have a really good idea if you look at when you look at the helicopter footage. The water is essentially the same height, same current. That's like the best representation of what it looked like the day before. You know what I mean? Because that's the 14th, and they went missing the 13th. So you can see like the crime scene. Here's like the east side, and here's the west side, and then here's the creek. So like look up, like there's that. So if you're walking up here, I'm not sure you necessarily would even see it down here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I just wonder if they found like footprints or whatever, like that we don't know about.
That's a great question. I've always wondered that, because they went and they did a search warrant at the meat packer plant, and they took like pairs of boots.
Okay, so I grew up in the mountains, in the woods, like in West Virginia, and I know that your visibility in those kinds of places usually isn't very good, especially if there's mountains, bushes, trees. That's just the truth. And depending on how dense, I mean, you can kind of see how dense it is. But also something I noticed that I don't want to forget to say, it happened on 2/13. They were found on 2/14, right? February 13th. Okay, and then they took the video on the phone at 2/13 as well. Oh, that's creepy.
Whoa.
Yeah, 2/13 on 2/13.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting timing.
Yeah.
The creek was overflowing on the 13th. I don't know. I've never heard that. I've heard that this was a flood area, but I've never heard that it was actually overflowing that day. Eric said that they searched that area. Eric actually says that he turned back. This is when in his interview. Hold on, I'll show you. Where did my map go? Eric said that he was searching. So the girls are found over here. Eric says he gets to about this area, he's walking from this direction, remember, because he walks up and then he walks around, and he's over here on this side of the creek now, and he's walking this way. He's walking straight towards the bodies, and they tell him that the search is being called off. And so he stops and goes back over here. He's friends with one of the girl's uncles, and the uncle's car is parked over here somewhere, and he walks that back this way and goes back to the car. So he says
Wow.
if he had just kept walking and doing the exact path that he was doing, he would have found them.
But they called it off.
Right.
Wow.
And he doesn't even, he says, I don't know who called it off. I don't know if it was official. They just started telling people they're stopping the search. They're calling it off. It's too dark and not safe. And so he stopped searching.
Is it true? Because Scottish Queen and I were talking, and she said something about one of the neighbors around there was on vacation.
Kay was, I believe, right?
I just feel like that's noteworthy too, because this person who did this crime would have known, oh, well, I won't have to worry about them seeing anything because they'll be gone.
What if an amateur?
Huh?
They'd have to know that they were on vacation.
That's what I mean. Somebody like they said, somebody who's familiar with the area, part of the community, that could be Richard Allen, but it's if somebody else is involved, maybe they knew also, that Ron Logan wasn't going to be home and that neighbor was on vacation.
So this lady, her son came home. He's not young. It's when I say son, I don't mean young. He came home at about 3:30, 3:45 from work. I know that I think it might be the property up here that she's talking about. Scottish Queen, are you here? We're going to have to ask. I think it was one of these guys that might have been on vacation. Hey, Wicked West.
It could be nothing, but I think it's noteworthy. For somebody who's going to risk this stuff during the day, they might have wanted to know.
Okay, Weber is the standard. So yeah,
people say that these ritualistic sacrifices don't really happen these days in these religions and stuff, but I could totally see a crazed person who is trying to practice or studying this religion, but doesn't, thinking that it would harness them some kind of extra something. I mean, you hear about that all the time. If you look into that kind of stuff, there's a reason why they do it, because, whether it'll make them stronger, younger, look younger, the blood of this, there's just different reasons, but maybe somebody who doesn't fully understand it could have gotten ahead of themselves. I don't know. That makes sense to me. This rabbit hole is crazy. Help. I don't know. I feel crazy even saying it, but
I know, it's just, there's a lot of puzzle pieces too, and layers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And the longer cases go, because the only other case that was this old, well, no, other cases I guess I've looked at, especially JFK and all that, but it's the harder
I compared this case to it because of the magic bullet.
Oh my gosh. People are calling the one found between the girls some conspiracy magic bullet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, because of the junk science people are trying to say about it, it sounds like, I guess it is in a way. We need to kind of iron out too all that bullet stuff that we talked about earlier, but
we do. You know what we need to get? Steve from True Crime Web. He needs to do it. He needs to do a reenactment of how the bullet would have come out of the gun and how it would have got where it was. Has he done that yet?
I'm not certain on that.
He did something yesterday and I haven't got to watch it yet, so I don't know if he's done that one yet.
That would be interesting just to see, and plus I want to know the prosecution's theory on that. Okay, so they say it was found there. How did it get there? I'm just curious. Allie, did I get to, I don't think I read you any of my notes from, but pretty much one of the things that I wanted to talk about was how Libby got the brunt of to me, the two girls look totally different. Not only like nude versus clothed, but the injuries and like the blood aspect.
Right.
One looking like she's sleeping, the other one having like blood on her face and all that. Her hand,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like one of them was wearing clean sneakers. The other sneakers are obviously in the river.
Did they say that Libby's? Did anybody who saw the photos say that Libby's feet were clean?
That's what I want to know, actually, but no, I don't think anyone has specified Libby's feet either being dirty or clean, which would indicate, I guess, like where this crime took place, if she was walking around there or not.
Yeah, like were her feet? I want to know if her feet were clean.
Yeah, we need
Somebody's
that.
had to have said that, and I must have missed it. And Scottish Queen did say, yeah, it was Kay Weber's house. I think we kind of assumed that. Yeah, Kay Weber's house. She wasn't home. The son got there at like 3:30 in the afternoon.
Like, so the difference in the girls, like, do you guys think that that means one perpetrator for one girl and another perpetrator for the other?
I think it's possible, but I also think it could mean something else. Like if there was a connection, I don't know, but yeah, I do think it's possible. There's obviously something, there's some reason why, just like when we talk about Idaho,
Right.
there's a reason. We just don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on real quick.
That's interesting though. And didn't only one of them have the antlers, or?
Yeah,
only Abby.
that's
Okay.
what I mean. Every little thing is like different. Like Abby looked like she was sleeping, and Libby was obviously positioned in a weird position, much more so, I guess, and was more bloody. One of them is said to have had like a slow bleed out. So it's just, I don't understand.
yeah.
The difference in the crimes, like, yes, similar, but at the same time, in the detailed aspect, it seems different.
I wonder if they ever found the rest of the blood, right? Because based on the memorandum, wasn't all there, right?
Right. Well, then we're hearing that supposedly, and I don't even know, I don't know the source of where this info is coming from, is that there's like a pool of blood at the base of the F tree, but there's no mention of that in any documents. So I kind of just have to take that with a grain of salt without seeing it for myself, or somebody at least putting it in a document. And the memorandum doesn't even say that there's like blood there. It actually says like the scene is like odd because it's lacking so much blood.
And that's the thing too, like that, yeah, the lack of blood, red flag. And Scottish Queen says that Libby possibly fought because it showed that her nails were ripped off or something. And it's like, but then why are they saying that there was no defensive wounds?
Yeah.
Or no sign of struggle, which I can't remember which one it was. I'd like to.
I think it was both. Like no sign, like no fighting, no defensive wounds.
Right. So
thank you, DC Primetime. That's very nice of you to give me a super chat. In the opinion of the chat and panel, do you think there is significance in the way the two girls were viewed? I absolutely. I just can't figure out what the hell it is. Oh, we lost Allie.
What do you mean viewed? Sorry. Like the way that they're laid out?
The way that they're and the fact that she's dressed, one she's dressed, one she's not.
Right.
She's dressed in her clothes. Like,
I'm so confused by it. And then my friend speculated, well, maybe one was dressed and the other wasn't because he ran out of time. And I'm like, but even if he wasn't running out of time, the clothing was in the river. It wasn't her clothing. Like, why? You know what I mean?
Well, I was going to ask you guys that too. Hopefully Allie pops back in. I wanted to ask, let me see if I can find that. The reason I had the picture up to begin with, which now I don't have, people keep saying they can see the jeans in the photo.
Yeah, I never had a chance to kind of look at that, so I'm glad you're pulling it up.
So we have the shirt, the underwear, and the shoe. But like, look at this like blob of mess right here. The only reason I think it wouldn't be part of these items is because of look at how covered it is compared to everything else. But there is like a something there. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it does
There
look
she
like
is.
something that's not of organic material.
Right. Because there's so many people saying they see the genes in these pictures, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like, where the hell do you see genes? I just don't see genes.
Yeah.
But I'm like, there's no way this would be so covered, and these would be just out in the
Right. I don't know. To me, it looks like those were thrown there.
or they got caught there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, would they
All of them
all
moving this
go
direction.
there? All in that direction? Like, I don't know. That's the other thing. It's like we might never know, but it's something that's going to bother me.
Right. Hey, Amanda. Yeah, that's what the defense memorandum says, is that they think that they took the blood. I think that the crime scene was staged to look like something it wasn't. Like, do you think that there was do you think it was actually set up to look like a ritual? Because it's almost like if it was, they weren't setting up like Odenism, like Odenites. You know what I mean? Like they were setting up just some type of crazy ritual that they thought something would look like.
Yeah, see, I'm torn on that. Like, I feel like if it has some sort of culty vibe, it's somebody trying to make it look like it's a cult thing. Or I think they were just laying stuff out there to put leaves on and kind of make it blend in.
That's what I thought originally when we first heard that there were sticks on them or whatever. That's kind of what I thought until the memorandum. And now I just don't know. I don't know.
There's a mass shooting in Maine.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
My
Never
goodness.
hear anything about Maine, right? Besides like lobster.
Yeah. And beaches. Oh, I wonder where at in Maine, like
Oh
the
my
mall or
Bruce Investigate sent me something.
Oh, gives me chills.
Lewiston, Maine?
Where at? Like, what was the venue or whatever?
I have no idea. Let me look real quick.
So, Allie, do you think that these clothes, like, I guess it's hard to say without looking at the current, but do you think that these were thrown there or floated there?
Well, with the way that they are, I feel like if they were floating, they could have like floated onto that and stopped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was from the current, but like you said, without the current. Now, if it was really overflown that day, like some people were saying,
Oh,
then
yeah.
I guess, yeah, maybe it was. I don't know. You know, I don't know how, but I never knew that these couple of photos had been leaked until you guys were talking about the other leak, and then I started like digging in and
Yeah, me too.
looking at those. Yeah.
Oh, really? I shouldn't say when the other leaks happened. I found out about these like weeks before, like when the defense motion came out, and then I stumbled on these. But yeah, it was, I don't understand how you and me both missed it, because we're always up to date on little things that happen, and I'm like, how did we miss this?
I know. I was like, wait, are these
when they came out, there was a lot of YouTubers that were saying they weren't real, so it could have been something like that. I don't know. I always thought they were real. So I'm going to show you guys real quick so you guys can see what's going on. We can wrap it up too, because I know it's late. It's much later for you guys than it is for me, but it's dinner time here too. So
like the sneaker, I have a hard time unless the water went down. Just the way that it's kind of like up on it.
And so here's the shooting. Here's what they know so far. 16 people are dead in multiple shootings in Lewiston, Maine on Wednesday night, according to multiple law enforcement sources. Another 50 to 60 people were injured in the incidents.
Oh my God.
Multiple shooting scenes, including a restaurant and a bowling alley.
What?
Asking residents to shelter in place. The active shooter is still out there, basically.
Oh.
Here he is.
Oh my goodness.
What the hell?
And they say the suspect is still at large. People were seen running from the bowling alley during the active shooter.
Oh my goodness. How scary is that? You can't even take your family bowling or something, and oh my God almighty. Mm-mm-mm.
Lewiston police identified the businesses where the 2 active shooter incidents took place on Wednesday evening. The locations were identified as Shemenji's Bar. Where's Shmita? She'll know how to say this. Bar and Grill and Spare Time Recreation is a bar and grill restaurant. The Space Time Recreation is a bowling alley. CNN has reached out to both places. Please stay off the roads. Allow emergency responders to come in. Confirms that they are taking mass casualties from the shooters. Active shooter events, yeah. Suspect for identification. This is the guy.
Wow. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know. That's sick. Hi, Bushit. All right, I'm going to have to keep an eye on that, see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm about to share it.
Clothes found before bodies, so no overflow. The clothes in the creek were found before the bodies. They say they found the bodies shortly after the clothes.
But those pictures were taken before.
These were taken by the searcher. Yeah, these were taken by the searcher before the bodies were found.
Which kind of, I mean, if we're going to be technical, kind of gives you an idea, like maybe even the area had been kind of, leaves kind of turned over, like hard to find blood on certain things because people kind of walked through, etc.
Yeah, I mean, like, the crime scene was supposedly just a disaster.
Yeah.
I know that somebody said that, you guys were talking about this earlier, and I don't know who in chat brought it up, but something about that, like somebody tripped over the bodies. And I remember, I wonder if I have that. Somebody asked Becky Patty that, and I grabbed the screenshot of it because she responds like, nobody tripped over them. This is my mini investigation on who was where and when. That's my folder for that. So let me see if it's in here. Okay, so she says that, so Ellie said that one of the girls said, is that creepy guy still following us? And then Becky responds with, check the interview of Holman with Alexis McAdams. So I still have to do that. So that's the petition. This is when she's talking about Pat Brown found them. He called his wife. The guy that found the girls was by himself when he actually found them. Pat Brown found them after he saw some deers, and he looked up, and there they was. He called his wife, and she was with Becky, and told them that he found them. And she says, no, he was not alone. So this was interesting to me because she doesn't correct that he's the one that saw the deers, because supposedly she says that later. It was not Pat Brown that made that call, and his wife was not with me. Said, my sister was searching with him. I don't know if it was an official group, but Derek was in an official group, and he ran into my sister. They talked for a bit, then Derek started back to his group. My sister walked over the ravine and saw them. Said, I'm so sorry your sister had to see that. To your knowledge, did Pat see the girls also? Where's the other one? Do I not have it in here? Shit. Of course I don't. Why would I, right? Why would I have the one that I actually was looking for?
I'm sure you'll have it handy.
I'll have it somewhere. There's not 3 shoes. There's no, the Nike in the water is the Nike from under the bridge. That's the same one. They say that she had 3 shoes or 4 shoes. No, I think it's the same one. They found it when they were by that private drive. And the private drive goes under the bridge, and I think that's why they say that.
Teresa, Amber, I think, what the hell am I echoing? I think that I'm going to jump in chat because I need to shake my head out a little bit before I look at this Clancy stuff some more. And yes.
You're totally fine. I'm going to wrap up anyway, Allie. We've been on here for a long time. I can't thank you guys enough for coming up and just trying to help me
Well-
wrap my head around this nonsense and craziness.
I know we'll have to do it again soon because, like, I feel like
Yes. I was about to say thank you so much for having me, and we need to do it more often than we have been. You know what I mean? We really do, because it's so good to talk to each other about this stuff. And yeah, I miss you guys. I love doing the panels with you
I
guys.
love hanging out with you guys.
so
Thank you
laid
guys
back.
for
I
coming
love
up
it.
here. If you guys aren't subscribed to Alex
Thank
Erickson,
you.
ATS News, you guys are missing out. I tell you.
Thank you, T. All right. I love you. I'll see you later. Okay.
Love ya.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye. Love you.
All right, so thank you, Amber, and thank you for being like my sounding board when I have all my tinfoil on, and that I can send you all my crazy thoughts, and you're like, okay, that doesn't make sense, Teresa.
Usually it's the other way around. No.
I don't know about that. All right, you guys, and thank you guys in chat for hanging out. Thank you guys for being here on this lovely Wednesday night, and some of you guys, it's like Thursday morning maybe already. But I appreciate you guys. ATS, when's your next live?
Friday sometime evening.
Okay. All right, we'll be there. Thank you all. We will see you guys on the next one.
Bye.
The dog yawned.